Good morning. How are we doing? You know, that moment when you find something hilarious right before the show launches. You end up laughing as the show begins. All right. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. We appear to be streaming on Rumble, and I'm going to share this show into the Facebook groups, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, TNAM's Agree to Disagree Show, TNAM Humor, TNAM Fake News, TNAM Preparedness, TNAM, what is it, Strictly Cavaliers. It's our live show, and it's silly season. Join us live. All right, cool. Let's get it going here. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in a nation that negotiated a 30-day pause on most tariffs, maybe with China. I think that's what's going on. It's a little hard to follow exactly because there's so many moving parts to these deals, but it seems like a deal has been made. My name's Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, May 12, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the new American media because the old American media has failed you.
Your guide to the truth, the new American media.
Gather round. Bars open, TVs are on. The chairs have been flipped. Come on in, grab a menu, sit down. Let's shoot the stuff, shall we? Let's talk about all the news. There's so much going on. It's hard to keep up, but I'm here for it. I love it. I live for it. We gather each day to figure out what's happening. There's a million things happening today. So let's start over here. You see me wearing my Rise Up Cleveland Cavaliers shirt. Wah, wah. Cavs were getting blown out by like 40 points yesterday. Ended up losing by 20. It wasn't competitive. Donovan Mitchell is getting an MRI on his toe. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to just buzz through the NHL and NBA playoffs real quick. Won't spend a ton of time on it, but there were two games yesterday. Dallas beat Winnipeg 5-2. Florida beat Toronto 2-0. So what you have now, here, let's go big screen. How about bigger screen? There's the biggest screen. One of these 8 teams will win a championship this year. Exciting. Dallas leads the Jets. The Winnipeg Jets. 2-1. Edmonton leads the Golden Knights 2-1. Maple Leafs and Panthers are tied 2-2. Carolina Hurricanes lead the Capitals 2-1. Let's go over to the NBA. Yeah, I have to really pause and think, like, what cities do these represent? I'm not a huge hockey guy, but it is that time of year. All right. Yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching. Hello, David Ban. Hello, everybody else in chat. If you're on Facebook, hit the thumbs up button, hit the hearts button, and drop some comments so that we know you're engaged in the programming. One of these 8 teams is going to win a championship. It's big for the cities. Oklahoma City and Denver, they're tied at 2-2. Minnesota leads Golden State 2-1. Oh, in this one, it's elimination time. Cavs trail 3-1. We know what happened last time that occurred. That was the Golden State Warriors. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and the Cavs came back and won that championship, trailing 1-3. Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. Cavs are going to play at home tomorrow. And as Charles Barkley said, if the Cavs can get that game, all the pressure in the world is going to be on Indiana for game 6. But we'll see what's happening. The Cavs are just injured. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter, and Donovan Mitchell's getting an MRI done on his ankle that's been bothering him. That's not great news. So we await those reports. And then today, the Knicks lead 2-1. They're going to take on the Celtics, the number 2 Celtics. So that's going to be interesting. Let's just click here. Giannis Antetokounmpo is open to exploring his best fits outside of the Milwaukee Bucks, so he might be on his way. And the Cleveland Browns signed veteran safety DeMonte Kazee. All right, well, I'm a Browns fan, so I wanted to see that. Eagles are going to host the Cowboys in the 2025 season opener. And there you go. That's about all I wanted to cover in the world of sports. Let's jump over to Instagram and share you all the things. Question of the day to everybody. Did you have a wonderful weekend? Did you do anything fun? Did you accomplish anything? Did you do anything worthy? I always enjoy trying a new place. Went to a Korean barbecue for my birthday. It was good. It was also a little confusing. I'm going to be straightforward on this. They were kind of confusing. Lots of stuff to cook and a pot with soup and then this and that and some of the other and some it was a little confusing. It was good. But then it was like you couldn't get a to-go bag. And I'm like, I don't want to waste anything, but I'm kind of getting full here. Did that. Made some headway with a couple of projects that I'm working on. Still have several big projects around the homestead that I would like to accomplish. But I did get a bunch of beans planted. I did get a bunch of chard planted. What did I do? I did 3 beans. I did 2 chard, 1 chard. What else? Yeah, I really need to get more stuff planted this season. Need to get a couple bags of soil, till some things up, and get my garden beds going. I mean, we're already halfway through May. Supermoon tonight. Go out there and look up and see the skies. David Ban, how are you, sir? Nice, relaxing weekend with my kids and your family. Nice. Did you have barbecue? That's my question. How about I'll expand this to everybody. Did you have barbecue? Because I smelled a neighbor cooking barbecue, and it made me upset that I wasn't eating barbecue. I would like to fix this. I would like to adjust this. I would like some barbecue. Craving barbecue right now, like in the worst possible way. But that is kind of what the Korean barbecue was. It's just like thinly cut steaks and thinly cut slivers of this and that, and you dip it in the pot and it cooks it, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's cooked then. Or, little piece of steak. You're like, oh, okay. Crab legs. Crab, look at that. The crab got me. So if I go down, it may have been the crab that did it. Oof. Yeah, that hurt. Trying to bust open I knew it was going to happen, too. I knew it. Yeah, weekends are for relaxing, but, it's easy to relax when you got your work done. When you don't have your work done, it's like, oh, I got all this work to do. I wish I could relax. John Seaback, hello. Great stuff as usual, Brian. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get into the news. John is in one of my Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. I prefer here, let me just put the chat overlay on top here. Yeah, I like fantasy football. Of course, I do the Agree to Disagree show. That is the podcast that covers the TNAM AM show up there in the corner. Make sure you search that on Spotify and iTunes. Subscribe to the Unhappy Hour Sports Show is the other one. Look at that. Just a reminder, I have these sets of awesome coasters, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Shipping included, they're 30 a piece. There's 4 thick, wooden-made, Ohio-made sets of coasters for your man cave or bar. And if you look in here, there's a pin, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show pin. So if anybody wants to make a donation and get one of these, like I said, they're 30 bucks a piece or 2 for 50. 75 with the pin as well. So shoot me a Venmo with your address and tell me what you want, and I will send it over to you. The donation links are at the bottom of the screen. If anyone wants to throw anything in the tip jar, we're on Patreon at The New American Media, Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, Brian Engelman, PayPal at Fuzz Installment, if anybody would like some. But yes, I am a sports fan, which is why I kind of lead the TNAM AM show, just letting you know what's going on, who's playing who, and not a ton of stories going on at the moment, but as a sports fan, you wake up and you want to know what's going on in the world of sports each day. So I will hit you with that. Also, make sure you're following the New American Media in all the places on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. Search the New American Media, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. And like I said, subscribe to the podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show, and The Unhappy Hour on Spotify and Apple. All right, let's show you this here. I can't play you the music, but these are boomers after selling their home to BlackRock instead of passing it down to the next generation. Oh, isn't that great? Sell your country away. Sell your soul. Yeah, sell your home top dollar, 10%, 20% above market value to BlackRock instead of passing it down to the next generation. How great of you. Go party like you're living the dream. I've been hearing that a lot of the vacation rental by owner, the VRBO, the Verbos, are going belly up. People who bought 2 or 3 homes and said, I'm going to invest in that instead, they're getting out of the market. It's a lot of upkeep. It's a lot of hassle, the cleaning, the this, the that, the booking. So that market is not what it used to be. And so there may be some hope on the horizon for some first-time home buyers or people looking to just move. You might want something a little bigger, something a little smaller. And there's just not a lot of inventory. And when there is, there's too many people bidding, and then the price goes up, and then BlackRock buys it, and you're like, well, why are we selling our country out to the globalists so that we're going to become permanent renters in our own country? That's not good. You're supposed to pass property along through your lineage, through your family. That's why you get it. That's why you sacrifice. That's why you go. That's why you try so hard to do something nice, to get something nice. Not just give it away and go party. And then now your kids and your kids' kids are just permanent renters. Give them a chance. Come on, stop being so selfish. Too soon? Yeah, maybe too soon. Starting to sound like a commie over here. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. This is from the Savage Wordsmith. This George Washington painting with his hand outstretched. Why the F aren't you H-ing these people? It says. You're going to have to read that. But is there any hope for humanity? If you don't take out the trash is going to govern your life, right? Where are the penalties for treason and for crimes against humanity? We're hoping. This one here from Phil Cook. It says, evil preaches tolerance until it is dominant, and then it tries to silence good. Evil preaches tolerance until it's dominant, and then it tries to silence good. So where are we at? Where are we at on the good times produce weak men produce hard times create strong men create good times, that whole thing? Where are we at right now? Are we on the verge of the good men taking the country back, taking our planet back from the sociopaths? Are we close? Because we're emerging from the Obama doctrine of forced colonization and weaponization of the government against normal people, rational people, Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, MAGA members, military members, patriots, constitutionalists, the good people. Attacked, tried the Obama doctrine, the people in that camp, the Bidens, the Harrises, they tried to silence good. They failed, but it's a constant tug of war. And when you start to get momentum after being pulled too far in this tug of war, one direction, think of the Overton window. The Overton window going 10 yards. The Overton window. The tug of war has stretched all the way to like the 1 yard line of crazy. So when you start pulling back toward normal, rational, sane, man, brother, you better pull better put your back into it, because you get one chance to recalibrate the goofiness. So yeah, where are the treason trials? Where are the crimes against humanity trials? Where is the justice for the people who have been running roughshod over the American dream, over humanity? I know we think, oh yeah, a couple people and Epstein and it's a global thing. And if we're not going to go get the bad people, then I guess we just lost, right? So Biden, Obama, they were trying to silence good people. They failed for now, but that tug of war is continuing. It is moving back and forth. So you got the momentum, everything you got, push. Full speed ahead, please. Of course, you can get all these stories on Instagram if you just follow the New American Media. So go sign up for an Instagram account if you don't have one, and make sure you're following us. We put a lot of great content there, and we do unpack it on this show. All right, Ben Geller here saying, breaking, Donald J. Trump will sign an executive order reducing all prescription drug and pharma prices 30 to 80% immediately. President Trump says, I will be instituting a most favored nations policy. Let me read this. Let me switch the aspect ratio. Here, let me switch the chat so I can get this larger. There we go. For many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs. This is Donald J. Trump, President Trump. For many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than that same drug manufactured in that same exact laboratory or plant by the same company. I was reading all that intentionally to read it in all caps, because that's how the president talks sometimes. That's how he types. Anyway, it was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. The pharmaceutical drug companies would say for years that it was research and development costs, and that all these costs were and would be, for no reason whatsoever, borne by the suckers of America alone. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me, not with the Republican Party. We're going to do the right thing, something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that in the White House at 9 a.m., I guess he must have just done this. Maybe there'll be an update on X that I could get to you. Signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history, prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. They will rise throughout the world in order to equalize. See, right there. You see what's going on there? They're going to equalize. Well, that's the exact opposite. Let me break this down for you. The Obama doctrine was saying Americans have had it too good for too long, so they need to equalize. They need to import tens of millions, 30 million illegal alien invaders dumped into the United States. Import the third world here because they haven't had it so good, and Americans have had it too good for too long. So we need to steal the money from Americans and give it to the illegal alien invaders who are colonizing America and Canada and Europe and everywhere. Steal from the native populations and give it to others to equalize. Well, President Trump to say, no, we're not going to hurt Americans like Obama and Biden and Harris and the Democrat Party do and the deep state pushes relentlessly. No, we're going to actually work in the benefit of Americans because that's what we hired the CEO of America to do. I know it feels like a foreign concept to have a American president representing American values because all the others have been so bought and paid for. Puppets for interests that do not help Americans. This is so different. This is why they hate President Trump. Because everybody was in on it. Nobody cared. They were rich enough so none of the decisions they made mattered to anybody. Let the rest of us just figure it out, huh? Well, no more. No more. Anyway, yeah. So the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. Our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens' healthcare costs will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before. Additionally, on top of everything else, the United States will save trillions of dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. It's great to finally see an American president representing America. Good. Very happy about this. Next. Bombshell report that the Biden administration targeted conservatives. We'll play you a moment of this. With some volume, maybe.
It's just released a bombshell report that really sheds the light on what they were doing behind closed doors.
Absolutely. So if you guys remember 2 or 3 years ago under Joe Biden, the FBI and federal law enforcement, they were going after parents who were complaining at school board meetings about trans policies and things like that. They were going after lawful gun owners, people who were military service members, devout Catholics. They were going after certain sectors of American society. And a lot of people raised alarm bells and said, you know, it seems like they're going after conservatives. It's kind of like, remember the IRS scandal with Loretta Lynch? It's like, you know, there's a common thread here of people who they're going after. And the messaging from the Biden administration at the time was, well, that's not policy. It's just a few bad apples who are going after these people. Well, as it turns out, it was not, those were not exceptions.
A few bad apples, a few exceptions. No, that was your damn policy because the Democrats hate you. Vote every Democrat into retirement and destroy that treasonous party.
Was in fact the rule. So DNI Tulsi Gabbard released this unredacted document, and it's pretty damning. Basically, the Biden administration, or Biden's DOJ, directing FBI agents and federal law enforcement to go after what they referred to as concerning non-criminal behavior.
Non-criminal behavior is concerning now to the deep state Democrat traitors.
So concerning, but non-criminal.
But non-criminal.
Now let me read you this quote, because this is the most dystopian 1984 you-know-what that you have ever heard. For decades, FBI agents have been required to meet stringent requirements for opening criminal and national security investigations. That's what's called a predicate. The predicate for a full investigation required an articulable factual basis that reasonably indicates a crime or national security threat has or is about to occur. I'm sorry, doesn't that sound like thought crime?
Thought crime and pre-crime. I'm going to say the Obama doctrine collapsing is what America needs to heal. It's time. It's time for the indictments already. So anyway, watch that whole report. That's a 5.5-minute video. I was just giving you the quick update there. Mike Lee is saying Biden used CBP and ICE to facilitate human trafficking, producing a windfall of tens of billions of dollars for international drug cartels. Trump's using CBP and ICE as they were intended, to protect Americans by securing the border. It's about time.
A little over.
let's talk about the money laundering and how it was done. Where's this gentleman's name? I'm looking for it. Okay, well, let's listen to the conversation.
$40 billion was supplied in support through the loan program office in its 15 years of existence, a little over $40 billion, and then almost $100 billion in the 76 days after they lost the election and before President Trump's inauguration. Look, if those were great ideas that were benefit to the America, why didn't they do it in the 2.5 years after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed? Why did they wait till they lost the election? They changed terms and loan covenants. They basically tried to set bombs to make it hard for us to unwind the mess they'd created. That's just not a responsible way to treat American taxpayer money and to move our energy system forward. So yes, we've stepped into a lot of mess, but this stuff's all fixable. We've got an aggressive team going after it. And you see already American energy prices are down. Investments in America to bring jobs back are up. So I think we're going the right direction. But yeah, we've got a lot to clean out. A little over $40 billion was supplied in support through the loan program office in its 15 years of existence, a little over $40 billion, and then almost $100 billion in the 76 days after they lost the election and before President Trump's inauguration. Look, if those were great ideas that were benefit to the America, why didn't they do it in the 2.5 years after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed? Why did they wait till they lost the election? They changed terms and...
So, $1.3 billion a day to Democrat-aligned NGOs and companies, $100 billion in total before Trump even took office. The moment Kamala lost the election, as reported by Brett Lee. And this is who? This is Wright, the U.S. Energy Secretary. We said it's time to claw back the money laundering. I might have just discovered something fantastic. For this whole time, I haven't been using this aspect ratio. See, this one, it's slightly different. And it causes problems because it clips off the side. But if I use this one, I'm a little smaller. That's a little larger. Which is pretty cool. Bella's chance. Hello, Bella. Hey, John Seebeck, where are you located, by the way? Are you Ohio? Are you Cleveland? I don't recall. Shout out to David Ban in Ontario. Shout out to Bella's chance in the Cape. And everybody else out there. Bella saying, where are all of the trials? I agree. I've been yelling that for a while. David's echoing, where are the trials? I agree. David saying, I've seen a few chemtrails the last few, but it seems to have slowed right down. Not for me. I went out yesterday, got some sun. It was like, oh, what a great day. Looked up later. Oh, shit, they're spraying. An hour later, it was this milky, smoggy, hazy shit everywhere. And I sent out a tweet. I sent out an X flare. If you're not following me on X, I have a personal account. It's at Twist of Nothing. And I took 2 pictures of the skies and said, you know, can I please join your team to work to stop this? I'm so sick of this. And I sent it to Bobby Kennedy Jr. So follow me on X at Twist of Nothing. Where are the trials? And where are the trails? Meaning the chemtrails. But yeah, Biden and the Democrats have been money laundering and throwing gold bars off the Titanic since Trump won. You know, obviously it's been 100 days, almost 3-4 months now, but there's so much to unpack. So much to unpack about this money laundering. All right, let's carry on. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, according to the Real State of America, said that Israel is refusing to end the war in Gaza and holding up hostage negotiations. Quote, we want the detainees returned, but Israel doesn't want to end the war. I don't know if that's an exact quote. Witkoff, let me see if I can... Let's see. Witkoff, Israel. Do I get that quote from another? Laura Loomer saying great news following talks with President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff. Hamas has agreed to release American hostage Eden Alexander unconditionally, citing pressure from President Trump. Witkoff is flying to Israel tomorrow to secure Eden Alexander's release. Hey, Doug Murray, I don't know if you're keeping score, but I am. That's 22 hostages that Steve Witkoff is now saved. Thank you, Steve. What a blessing for Eden's family. Well, good. I'm thrilled about that. AF Post says Trump's envoy, we want they don't want. Okay, so AF Post is reporting the same comment that I put out there. Han Shawnity. He's calling Steve Witkoff bought and paid for Qatari asset. Working a side job as Trump's envoy to the Middle East. Wants Israel to end the war in Gaza, leaving Hamas in power. He believes Hamas should be given everything they ask for simply because they're holding hostages. He wants to incentivize Hamas to carry out more attacks like October 7th and take even more hostages. So there's a lot of angles on this. Anytime you're trying to push for peace, the other side's going to say, oh, yeah, you're capitulating. Oh, yeah, well, sure, it's easy to declare peace if you let the other side win. You're hearing it in Ukraine, Russia. You're hearing it in Israel, Hamas. You're hearing it, India, Pakistan. Anytime you try to push for peace, you'll hear that. You'll hear one side say, well, yeah, it's easy to call for peace when you let the other side get whatever they want. In every conflict, there's truth in that. This one particular, I don't know. I just, you can't negotiate with terrorists. You can't encourage more of that behavior. I know. Also, they have people and we want them back, especially American citizens. Especially American citizens. That needs to be the number one priority always. But anyway, we'll get to more stuff on X a little bit later. But here, share this tab again. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on Israel and Netanyahu and Trump and Mike Waltz. There's stories circulating, rumors, smoke signals that Mike Waltz may have been behind the Signal chat. Was it Signal or Telegram? I think it was Signal chat with Pete Hegseth, because Pete Hegseth is not so gung-ho on pushing the Middle East conflict into bombing Iran. So if he's not pro-war, they need to get rid of him. Maybe Waltz is in on it. There's a lot of conjecture, a lot of hearsay, a lot of speculation, a lot of frustration. We're just trying to unpack it all and consider all the sources. I don't know exactly what is accurate in that case, but Steve Witkoff fighting to get hostages removed, and I'm in favor of that in general. President Trump, in the last 48 hours, has allegedly negotiated an India-Pakistan ceasefire. Also, we heard that was immediately that ceasefire was broken. We're trying. I don't know. How much are you supposed to interfere and intervene and make it your problem when two other people are fighting? Don't fight. Stop. It's like in a hallway and teachers are walking and there's a fight. Break it up. But they're trying to broker peace in India, Pakistan. Zelensky and Putin, they're trying to negotiate for peace still, and a trade deal with China. There's a lot of stuff we're going to have to unpack on that in the fine details. But it appears as though we got a 30-day break on the tariffs, or most of the tariffs to China. Let's do a quick check-in of the Dow Jones Industrial. Raise your hand if you are invested in the Dow Jones Industrial. It's up nearly 900 points today, 2%. Year to date. See, it's so weird. It's not giving me, it's just showing me today. I want to see. Where was the high? The high was 44, almost 45. And today it's at 42. So in the last 6 months, it's down a little bit. This past month, from 38 to 42. It's up over 5 years. And it's up over the year, by the way. Massive plummet there. But it's a long-term game. Don't get too freaked out by it. Let me see if there's any details in this. Say what you want, but this president is getting stuff done. There we go. Getting stuff done button. Let's continue. All right. DC Drano puts this out. Think ahead a little bit. If we don't take drastic action to deport the 10 million plus, it's 30 million illegal alien, because if you counted 20, there's all the ones you missed. So yeah, you add 50% more. If we don't take drastic action to deport the 10 plus million illegal aliens, 30 million, that came through under Biden, what do you think will happen under President Gavin Newsom? We'll get another 15 to 20 million under him, and then America is done. Done. Republicans will never win the White House. Blue states will get more electoral college votes and congressional seats. They'll give 30 million welfare-dependent illegal aliens voting rights. They'll stack the courts with more radical judges, and it will only be a matter of time until this country breaks down into violent conflict. So that leads me to ask the question, do you agree or disagree? Wow, we went through 3 stories in the time it took to run that little clip. I'm going to agree. This just has to happen. You can't colonize America and change America. There needs to be a very small amount of immigration of the best and the brightest. Speak the language, take the citizenship test, medical background check, criminal background check, fully vetted. Stay here for 30 years, 25, 20, 15, 10. I don't know the exact number of years, but if you stay clean and you stay off of public assistance, aka stealing from us, then yeah, I think the best and brightest should stay here. I think we should have some immigration here. No, you don't allow everybody to come in. No, you got to have some standards, just like a college does. Just like you're supposed to when opening your legs. That escalated quickly. But you shouldn't be racking up body counts in the triple digits. I mean, more power to you if you are. Whatever. But our triple digit body counts, opening your legs for anybody, that's just gross. That's gross in the dating scene, and it's gross as a country. You don't open up for anybody. You open up for qualified contenders. You open up for the best of the best. You don't open up for whatever you can find. That's just not the strategy moving forward. Yes, 30 million illegals. Yes, I would say that's too many people. Agree. Does anybody disagree with that? I'd love to hear from you. Yes, here you go. Donald Trump, President Trump says, I am happy to announce that Edan Alexander. Why does what he's holding look fake? It looks AI generated. I'm happy to announce that Eden Alexander, an American citizen, this is an American. Why hasn't this been wall-to-wall coverage? It's been 600 days since American hostages have been taken by Hamas. Or as CNN would say, it's been more than 600 days since American citizens were taken by Hamas. They're the ones that add our accents go to 11. Look, it's an American citizen. Bring all American citizens home. Like, President Trump has been working like hell to get people returned from all parts of the world. And that's what you're supposed to be doing, advocating for America and Americans. He's been held hostage since October of 23, coming home to his family. I'm grateful to all those involved in making this monumental news happen. This was a step taken in good faith toward the United States and the efforts of the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and remains to their loved ones. Hopefully, this is the first of those final steps necessary to end this brutal conflict. I look very much forward to that day of celebration. And some people didn't want to give President Trump his roses for the Abraham Accords, but I did. Israel haters never saw Abraham Accords. That didn't do anything. That wasn't any good. I hate Israel, they would say. It's like, you can still hate Israel if that's your deal, but like, the Abraham Accords calmed things down, and there were monetary incentives to not effing around and not finding out. Hamas effed around, and guess what? You caused your rubble. You caused your place to get annihilated because of what you did to start a war with your neighbor. Maybe you shouldn't have done it. Oh yeah, but yeah, let's go ahead and go around and cheer for the other guys. Yeah. It's the equivalent of recess and two kids that cannot play along in the sandbox with each other. They just keep hitting each other. They will not stop fighting each other. Who's right? Who's wrong? You know. You'll get contingents. You'll get contingents of Islam is always wrong. Islam is always violent. You'll get contingents of it's the Jews. It's always the Jews. You'll get content. I don't know. Is this 5% on each side? Is it 25% on each side and 50% in the middle going, oh, for the love of God, will you guys both just shut up and stop this madness? Will you guys both just stop this? I don't know. I think I'm smart enough, or I don't know, not foolish enough, but I think I'm smart enough to realize that it's more complicated than being black and white 100% of the time. But the way people talk about these conflicts and these wars, regardless, I am thrilled to see an American coming home. Thank you, President Trump. You know, you just always hope they're not giving up too much. With Obama, it was always like, and with Biden, hold on, you're giving up the merchant of death to get a WNBA weed smoker back? That doesn't seem like a fair trade. And if you're making trades with terrorists who are holding hostages, it's encouraging more terrorists taking more hostages. I get it. But what's the alternative? What's the alternative? You just let them keep Americans? I don't know. I feel like the game plan, get involved. Try to negotiate some peace. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you are out there watching today's episode of the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media. That was actually the wrong intro. I was only playing it a second time because I added Sean Flynn. Rest in peace, buddy. Sean Flynn's voice on this one. All right, I talked about him. I gotta play it.
Your guide to the truth. The New American Media.
There we go. I wasn't entirely certain if I had that audio in the right spot, but I put it together this morning because I'm like, I play it all the time, but you don't get to hear the New American Media. So anyway, thank you for returning another American. Or has he been returned, or they've agreed to? Has he actually set foot in America yet? We will see. Yeah, here's a salient point, a pretty important point, I would imagine. Oh, hold on. Free breather. Hello, free breather. By the way, free breather, remind me, where are you watching from? We got Bella's Chance in the Cape. We have David in Ontario, but I forget where you're from, free breather. My apologies. But just like as a bartender, I like to learn what you drink. If that's a Miller Lite draft, or if you want some red wine, or I like to remember where people are from. Free breather is asking, do you know Brittany Griner's real name? So you're saying Brittany Griner is not a real name? Let me ask Grok. What is Brittany Griner's real name? Because there are reports. Brittany Yvette Griner. Are you sure? Haha, yep, I'm sure. No alias or surprises. Are you sure? All right, you got me double checking with a grin. Yes, I'm sure. No curveballs or hidden pseudonyms. So Grok is saying it's just Brittany Griner, but I'm all ears. Free breather. Tell us, please. And also tell us where you're watching from. I love to know how far our reach can go. You know, if I was growing up in a universe where it was like, it's hard to imagine. Here's Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh got very big in the 90s. He had been doing radio for a while. Where was he? Kansas City, and pretty much during the Bill Clinton administration, being the anti-Bill Clinton person. He got very popular then. What point was I making about Rush Limbaugh? The point I was making was, if in a universe in the 80s, in the early 90s, for someone to like come up to me or you and say, you know, here's the deal. So like, what is X? X is like $7 a month. The Restream app that I use to restream this show is $40 a month. I guess I do have websites and I pay for that. It's a lot of expenses, but for under $50 a month, we'll call it, because X, you have to pay $7 in order to stream on it. If someone came up to me in the late 80s or early 90s and said, you know, for about $40 to $50 a month, you can stream to the universe. Stream? What the hell does stream mean? You like a creek? Like a crick with a crawdad? No. You'll be able to have your own show that you produce, that you engineer, live callers, live people jumping into the show, leaving their comments, to anywhere on Earth. I'd be blown away. Early 90s Brian would be like, what? You mean I get to have a show? That is incredible. So yeah, Rush Limbaugh kind of invented, not that he invented talk radio by any stretch, but like he revolutionized what it meant to do a 3 to 4 hour show each day. And that's kind of what I love doing. I love doing this. I love breaking down the news and talking about stories and interacting with the callers and the people in the chat room. I love it. I absolutely love it. Just having a moment thinking about pre-Rush Limbaugh, post-Rush Limbaugh, because as you know, Bill Clinton's second term came in, so did the personal computer revolution. 95, 96, 97, 98. Everybody was getting their own personal computer. Huge industry, huge. So I believe this is a quote shared by Mr. Justin Barclay. It may or may not be an actual quote, but it's being attributed to him here. Washington can't afford for Trump to succeed. The gig is up. If an outsider like Trump can fix messes that they've promised but failed to take care of in the past 30 years, then we, the people, will never vote establishment again. And that's why they're against him. So yes, President Trump was around. Rush Limbaugh was around when President Trump was president. So he was gifted the Medal of Freedom, Medal of Honor, Medal of something. Kind of give Rush Limbaugh some of his roses. So he would have been around to talk about Trump. But good grief, if Rush Limbaugh had been around to see what the Democrat deep state had done under Obama, Biden, Harris, with all the lawfare attempts to jail, and then Epstein Trump, the attempts to Butler, Pennsylvania Trump. I really wish we could hear from Rush Limbaugh. Rest in peace, Rush. Here's a story that you might not be aware of.
So let me get this straight. These guys essentially beat Tyree Nichols to death. Like, I'm literally right now watching them. One cop is standing him up, or two cops are standing him up, and the other is socking him in the head. I've seen one of these cops kick him in the head. They were using like a nightstick on him. I mean, he died from blunt force trauma to the head, and we just watched these guys quite literally beat him in the head. And they've been acquitted of all state charges. I don't see BLM marching in the streets. I don't see Democratic politicians outraged by it or even talking about it. And I don't see Black Americans out in the streets marching, saying the system's messed up, saying this is wrong. Nothing. Or I should say minimal. I've seen some people complain about it. They were just acquitted of all state charges, and it's virtually silent. Many Black Americans in this country are so hypocritical, and they're ideologically inconsistent. Now, let this have been 3 or 4 white cops. people would be in the streets marching, politicians would be talking about it, it would be all over the news. But since it doesn't fit the narrative,
that is the most disgusting part of this whole story. Okay, it's not the most disgusting part, but I mean, isn't it among one of the several worst parts? How the Democrats and the media will always take any incident of any white person, any white cop doing anything, and turning it into something that's a mountain out of a molehill. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Yeah, I know. Right. But spare me. Are you doing this every shooting in Chicago on the South Side? They don't. The social justice warriors don't. They will do it. They will go bonkers. They'll go balls to the wall. 100%. Full speed ahead if they can demonize a white person or a conservative or a Republican or a libertarian or a MAGA member. Crickets on this one. This case was kind of similar to Kelly Thomas. The two Fullerton cops beat him to death. And they were acquitted of their charges. Astonishingly. Oh, those cops should have been. That was when I was a guest on Coast to Coast AM. Well, several times. When I was a guest on Coast to Coast AM. I jumped in because that was my backyard, and that Kelly Thomas case was just brutal. But where's the outrage? There's only outrage when you can pin the tail on the white guy. From the media, from the Democrats. You do not see wall-to-wall coverage over this because the people who beat this guy and killed this guy, they look like that guy. No, I don't remember any outrage for Kelly Thomas, but you do about that one guy, don't you? Maybe that other guy. It's just... spare me turning one story up to 110. Mine goes to 11. If you're going to keep the others turned to 0.
we're just going to sweep it under the rug. And this is what's embarrassing for many of the black people who would be out in the streets marching if these were all white cops. You're ideologically inconsistent and you're hypocritical. You don't really care about black lives, and you don't really care about right or wrong. Because if you truly did, you would have the same energy about this as you would if it was a bunch of white cops. Here's another one of the reasons why I think you're not seeing outrage amongst the black community. Because remember, I've said many black Americans have this unrelenting loyalty to being black. So since they have this unrelenting loyalty to being black, and for many of them that guides which direction they go, they don't know which direction to go. Because all the cops are black and the victim's black. So who do they side with? Because remember, it's not about right or wrong in many of these cases. It's about aligning with your skin color. So since there isn't a skin color to align with because everyone is the same color, they basically stay silent. And this is why I say having an unrelenting loyalty to being black is an absolute problem. Because it blinds you from seeing right or wrong and it stops you from actually calling that out.
And I saw a report we shared on Saturday's show. I believe it was on Saturday's program. It was about the number of what happens when you get black jurors on a trial. They will overwhelmingly vote to convict white people and overwhelmingly vote to let black people off without penalties. I don't have that form in front. I shared something and I was looking at it. You know, it's often said that jury trials are won and lost during the jury selection process. And you've seen it with Diddy. Well, Diddy's like the biggest high profile one that you're looking at, rather. And I don't know, I'd be open to looking at more studies on that. I haven't seen a lot, and I don't know if what I looked at was accurate. So there's always a caveat. We should always take a study that we look at on X or Instagram, look at it with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's accurate. I think the one I quoted on Saturday was from 2018 or 2019. So that's obviously 5 years past, but you know, maybe that's how they reflect that data. Maybe that's how they count that. But if you're not able to just look at the merits of a case, and if your blind hatred or defense of somebody because they look like you or because they look like someone you've been raised to hate, There's something wrong. And you need to look in the mirror. And you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. You really should. I couldn't imagine defending a white monster because he's white. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine. The things I would like to see done to Jeffrey Epstein that allegedly he did to himself. Allegedly, sure he did. No, the worst of the worst among us, they all deserve punishment. You don't deserve a free pass because you look a certain way, and you don't deserve to be railroaded because you look a certain way. You know, you've heard those stories in the South where white juries would convict innocent black men just because they were black and just because they needed someone to pin the blame on. And, well, you know, one black guy is the same as the rest. These Southern juries of yesteryear used to say, yesteryear, that's happening today. Please don't. I don't think that's remotely accurate. If anything, it's the pendulum has swung completely the opposite way, where people are bending over backward to let lawbreakers and criminals run roughshod. Now, maybe that's more illegal alien invaders. That's not necessarily a black thing. It's just a non-American thing. But it seems like the Soros-appointed district attorneys pushed by the Democrat Party, they let most criminals get away with criminal activity. So yeah, just shame on any white person that's going to vote for a black person being guilty because they're black. Shame on any black person that's going to vote a white person guilty just because they're white. Shame on any white person who lets a white person off with a horrendous crime just because they're white. And shame on any black person that's going to let a black person off of a horrendous crime just because they're black. You know, there is that thing like defending your people and defending your neighborhood. And, you know, I kind of, in the neighborhood, think of the inner cities and, you know, oh, well, nobody's speaking out against the 10 people we all know are causing 95% of the problem. Well, yeah, we look after our own neighborhood. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got a wolf outside there. And that wolf is a danger to everybody around, and you're just allowing it to happen. Protecting your community means getting rid of the dirtbags. Well, he looks like us, so, you know, we're not going to go too hard in the paint on that one. Well, you should. If the person is harming you, you're not going hard enough. Please protect your neighborhoods.
Like, these cops literally beat him to death. And it's silence when they were all acquitted of state charges. It's crazy. You can't take these people serious. The people out in the street marching about police brutality primarily only do it when a white cop does something to a black person. This seems like a textbook case of police brutality, and they're not out in the streets marching. And again, it's likely because all of them have this skin color. It's a problem. So let me get...
Dude, I mean, there was a lot to unpack in that... would you call that a soliloquy? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there, but regarding what this gentleman had to say, do you agree or disagree? Yeah, Blake made all these cool little stingers when we were working together on the Agree to Disagree show. And so all the questions were, do you agree or disagree that this? Agree or disagree about that? So I'm calling this the TNAM AM Show up here in the corner. But it really is a division of the Agree to Disagree show. I agree with this guy. Where are these nationwide protests about these cops beating this guy to death? It's on camera. It feels a little excessive. It feels a little excessive. So why don't people seem to care about it? Sometimes you protesteth too much, sometimes not enough. Let's listen.
A report
Biden era FBI cover up and corruption
finds that there were no.
This is Representative Ronnie Johnson, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, discussing a congressional report on the FBI probe of the 2017 GOP congressional baseball team shooting. Remember that one? Remember how this was reported, misreported.
Hard facts to support the FBI's suicide by cop conclusion that this was an act of domestic terrorism. Aside from being incredibly offensive to the 4 victims shot by the attacker, this analysis fails to note that the shooting when it began, there were absolutely no uniformed police officers anywhere around visible to the shooter. Further, the FBI analysis claimed that the shooter moved toward the gunfire. There was absolutely no support for this claim in the case file. The FBI did not conduct critical interviews with victims and eyewitnesses. As a result, no witnesses were given an opportunity to contradict this theory. On the other hand, the media did interview the eyewitnesses, and they found that the shooter targeted victims from a concealed position in order to protect himself. Finally, our report finds that the FBI's press release was used to mislead and influence public opinion. For example, the FBI told the public that the photos the shooter had taken at the baseball field, quote, did not represent surveillance of intended targets. Yet, the internal official report that we reviewed, the case file states, quote, the FBI assesses photos may indicate possible probing and casing. In addition, the FBI used deceptive language to hide the fact that the shooter had a handwritten manifesto, which was found in his van, indicating his real motive. His real motive was assassinating Republican congressman.
And by the way,
to, quote, win back the power of the people.
Doesn't this sound like the trans shooter down in Nashville? It's a very politically based attack, and it's misreported.
Our report finds that there were no hard facts to support the FBI's suicide by cop conclusion, that this was an act of domestic terrorism. Aside from being incredibly offensive to the 4 victims shot by the attacker, this analysis fails to note that the shooting when it began, there were absolutely no uniformed police officers anywhere around visible to the shooter. Further, the FBI analysis claimed that the shooter moved.
Oh, he said, does this remind anyone of the Nashville trans attack? Misreported, hidden, and scrubbed by the lying legacy media. So there's the update there. That's exactly what you thought it was, what you knew it was, really. The Real State of America saying Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he will sign the toughest ban in the United States to prohibit people from hostile foreign nations like China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea from buying or owning land in Texas. Have you heard this one? Is that a fair representation of what his policy is? Greg Abbott in his own words. Yep, it's exactly what it is. See, but that's what I'm doing here. As if you haven't figured it out, a lot of what I do, I'm not telling you what's up. I'm telling you what people are saying. And a lot of times I try to go ahead and take a look and see, can we confirm what's being reported here? If it's a source I'm not super familiar with, is this accurate info? We've all shared something we thought was accurate. Doesn't make us bad. It just means maybe we should take a second before we form concrete opinions on subjects we're just learning about. Maybe that's the message of this show. But yeah, it appears that is what's happening there. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, kind of seems like a good thing, right? You don't want your nation invaded by foreign powers. Here we go. U.S. and China breaking, according to We Are Breitbart. Let me see if I can do it this way. Well, see, this is a case where that little shift doesn't help. We'll go top and bottom. How about that? We Are Breitbart reporting the United States and China agreed Monday to suspend the vast majority of tariffs imposed during their recent trade standoff, committing to a 90-day de-escalation while formal negotiations continue. The agreement was announced in a joint statement following 2 days of high-level talks in Geneva, where delegations from both governments convened to address mounting economic tensions. Under the terms of the deal, the U.S. will reduce its reciprocal tariff on Chinese imports to 10%, down from the 125% level imposed during the height of the trade standoff earlier this year. China will match that move by lowering its own tariff on U.S. goods to 10%, also down from 125%. Beijing also agreed to suspend non-tariff countermeasures that had been enacted since early April. A separate 20% tariff the U.S. imposed over China's role in supplying illicit drug manufacturers with key ingredients for fentanyl will remain in place. Good. Both sides described the moves as initial steps toward a more sustainable, long-term, and mutually beneficial trade relationship. They pledged to continue talks through a newly created bilateral mechanism. Chinese Vice Premier He Lefeng will lead Beijing's delegation, while Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer will represent the U.S. The parties recognize the importance of their bilateral economic and trade relationship to both countries and the global economy, the statement said, adding that discussions would proceed in the spirit of mutual opening, continued communication, cooperation, and mutual respect. Bravo. I'm going to put Trump was right button. The U.S. has been getting taken advantage. The U.S. had been taken advantage of by China. And now that's not the case. And that's pretty great. Do you concur? You had to get tough and things got a little wonky, but what else are you going to do? That's how you negotiate. You got to say, I'm not putting up with this anymore. We're going to change things, and you change things. So the libs. Trump, why are gas prices so high? Meanwhile, in red America, gas is $2.69 a gallon. California folks are blaming Trump for their $7 gas. But over here in the free states, we're paying under $3. Maybe it's not Trump. Maybe it's your governor. Maybe it's your taxes. Maybe it's your policies. Drill, baby, drill wasn't just a slogan. It was a strategy. Under Trump, we were energy independent and gas was cheap. Now y'all voted for green dreams and got gas nightmares. I'm going to say flee blue cities, flee blue states, fire every Democrat button. I'm very happy to be out of that place. How likely is this? We demand overpriced drugs. We demand overpriced drugs. Resist, resist, resist. One of the biggest strategy failures of the Democrats is to oppose everything President Trump does. President Trump pushes 80-20 policies. 4 out of 5 people support the stuff that President Trump is putting forward. And just the knee-jerk reaction of, oh, Orange Man did something. Guess what? We should all be against it. You're simpletons. You're mentally deficient. You are nincompoops. Y'all are crazy. So, yeah. We demand overpriced drugs. We demand overpriced drugs. That is kind of funny. I'm just going to type, we demand overpriced drugs button. We don't want those cheap Trump drugs. I think comment wild and free. I think Trump administration needs to promote the good work they're doing and keep on talking about it. People still think the stock market is down, even though it's skyrocketed. $2 gas, completely closed border, China bending to Trump's tariffs, etc. And people don't know that. We demand overpriced drugs.
A Venezuelan migrant arrested 16 times. Then
okay. If you're an illegal alien getting arrested 16 times and you're still walking the streets, something is seriously wrong.
For 18 months since he arrived to this country from Chicago, or rather in Chicago after arriving to this country, is now in ICE custody and apparently is facing deportation.
We have his criminal record right here, and to your point, in a short amount of time, he has built quite the criminal history. In fact, he was arrested almost every single month of 2024. ICE identified him as Santiago Josue Vargas Rodriguez, and his criminal record includes theft.
Once again, fitting the pattern. I just, as I report these stories, so many of these illegal alien invader criminals that are terrorizing America and Americans. More than 3 names. What was the, I can't rewind it, but this person has more than 3 names. That's so interesting. Arrested 16 times? You keep people like that behind bars because they lose their free range privileges. Why are you letting someone out 16 times? They don't want to be out.
Robbery and assault. After his 13th arrest, Rodriguez pleaded guilty in February to attempted robbery. And according to reports, a judge warned him that deportation was likely. But yet again, he was released and arrested 3 more times before ICE detained him last month. Authorities say Cook County officials ignored 6 immigration detainers for Rodriguez.
They ignored 6 immigration detainers. That is nuts.
In the last year, and court records show in the past, prosecutors in the sanctuary state dropped most of his other cases. This week in Chicago, another Venezuelan migrant with quite the rap sheet was also indicted after 6 different arrests in a 13-month span. Investigators say he robbed a woman at gunpoint last month, just 3 days after being released from electronic monitoring.
Why can't you sue the judges and Democrat district attorneys that are letting monsters out to harm us? Why can't we bankrupt that party? Alex Jones got fined $1 quadrillion zillion billion for misinformation or something. But MSNBC and CNN have been allowed to lie about all of the major relevant stories for decades? No accountability? Explain that to me. Explain that. There are people literally letting monsters back out to commit horrendous, monstrous crimes against Americans.
From an entirely different case. We're told in the past, prosecutors also dropped some of his other cases. Now he's in jail and will be arraigned next week.
A Venezuela.
Man, can't get rid of this guy fast enough. Hey, I mentioned Nashville. Remember when they tried to cover up the trans shooter, but that they hated Christians, hated white people, hated men, hated this, hated that? Remember that manifesto? Well, here's Nashville's mayor. Take a listen. Nashville's mayor didn't, I believe it was Tennessee's Highway Patrol that got that Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy when he was trafficking, what was it, 8 or 10 illegal aliens? And then they let him go? Here's Nashville's mayor talking about Tennessee Highway Patrol and their cooperation with ICE. Is this real life?
This is a tough moment, and I am heartbroken that today many of our neighbors in Nashville are experiencing fear over family separation rather than the safety we all deserve. The trauma inflicted.
Hold on. We all deserve? American citizens deserve. And the trauma inflicted is from the illegal alien invader criminals.
On families is long lasting, and I'm doing everything in my power consistent with applicable law to protect anyone who calls Nashville home. What's clear today is that people who do not share our values of safety and community have the authority to cause deep community harms. Immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. MMPD officers are not ICE. What's clear is that federal and state authorities are intent on enforcing immigration law. Their approach is not our understanding of what a Nashville for all of us looks like, and we're grateful to our community partners who make all of our residents feel welcome.
We'll be launching a new fund called the Belonging Fund. We want to make sure that the immigrant community in this town knows that we have their back, and the fund will raise dollars that'll support the needs of our immigrant community, especially those who've been affected by the ICE raids yesterday, providing funds to support childcare, transportation, housing assistance, food insecurity, and really anything else that they need.
You can tell this is a first of its kind fund supporting our immigrant and refugee community in moments of crisis, which have been many in that community over the past several weeks. And it will be online today, cfmt.org/belonging.
Federal agents smoked a cigar just feet away from the crowd. ICE has not said who was taken into custody, why they were detained, nor were they where they were going.
Do you guys feel good about this? Like, are you happy to be taking families apart?
After Saturday into Sunday morning's ICE crackdown in South Nashville, His sister, who is undocumented and wants her identity hidden, says she is shattered. She tells me he's from Honduras and has worked in the United States for...
He's from Honduras. No, he's from Honduras.
5 years. THP says troopers made several arrests for outstanding warrants and that, quote, illegal guns and drugs were also recovered, including from individuals suspected of gang affiliation, end quote. Migrants tell me they are going into hiding because of a possible second round of ICE raids.
Legal migrants or illegal aliens?
We are scared for what happened on Saturday.
Others are considering drastic measures.
Drastic measures like going back to your country?
My brother is planning to self-deport because he says Louisiana is really full and he is worried.
She shares the fear all migrants in Nashville have and is hoping she can get relief.
This is a tough moment, and I am...
A tough moment. Come on, Nashville, do better. So what is this? This is a interview. The Republican Party put this out. And they're asking this guy about his tattoos.
Get a tattoo like this if you're not a gang member?
Can you get a tattoo like this if you're not a gang member? What is... I can't read something evening... CBS Evening News, maybe?
No, you gotta kill.
No, a non-gang member cannot get that tattoo. You've got to kill.
You gotta kill to get those tattoos. How do you feel right now?
Gotta recognize that what happened to us is like that Titanic, that we were big and strong gangs, but we got hit with the iceberg.
Are you gonna be here the rest of your life?
Yeah, the rest of my life. We murdered a lot of people, and this is the consequence of what we did one day.
We murdered a lot of people, says this criminal.
Like, try to act strong in the day and cry in the nighttime.
You cry at night?
Yeah, because we know that we're not gonna get out of here. It's a maximum security prison.
What was the gang that you were a part of?
MS-13.
To get a tattoo.
I'm going to say indict the Democrats for importing this crime wave button. How many innocent lives were taken by the people in that prison? Former U.S. Postal Service employee from Mesa County, Colorado, is admitted to stealing and fraudulently casting mail-in ballots during the 2024 presidential election, says Alan Jacoby. Vicky Stewart, 64, entered a guilty plea on May 5 to charges of identity theft and forgery. Charges stem from a scheme in which Stewart, along with her associate Sally Jane Maxedon, intercepted mail-in ballots intended for voters, forged signatures, and submitted them as legitimate votes. Audit 2020. Hang on. Audit the 2020 election button. That almost works. Let me delete this. Just, I love the people that pretend that could have never happened in America. It's like, it's the most obvious thing that would happen all the time. Let's run a full forensic audit, please. Did you see this story? When legacy media tells you it isn't a bag of Coke, what does that tell you it is? This is Freedom Convoy Europe. The comment says, something about this guy makes me think it is something most probably illegal. What do you think? So do you see these world leaders here? Anything suspicious about this? Watch.
bedroom and then we got through the pool.
Head of the table.
Yeah.
Right hand grabs it and puts it underneath, and he's fidgety.
Fail. Yeah.
It's now a photo op. There's Keir Starmer and is that Macron and Mers? Look at all the sniffy sniff from Macron. There's quite the compilation of the sniffage. I'm just hoping this isn't music that's going to get me a copyright, for the love of God. Here, let me just... I'll make the noise. There you go. Freedom Convoy shared that one. Now you understand why he's getting along with Zelensky. Anyway, that's kind of wild. I guess there was a spoon and there was a baggie. And they might be high as a kite, allegedly. Keep your eyes peeled on that one. Yep, Eden Alexander. Oh, released by Hamas. Hold on, that is the update. I was saying, well, is he on American soil? What's the latest? Believed to be the last living American hostage in Hamas, released and coming home to his family. Gratefulness to all those involved. Eden Alexander has been held out. Is coming home, but I thought that they said post comes after Hamas issued a statement on Sunday that Alexander would be released. So has he been yet? That's what I'm just trying to... I'm going to ask Grok. No, hold on. Has Eden Alexander been released? I guess the question is, is he? Yes. They announced his release yesterday. Set to be freed. Okay, that's different. If he's been released, now he's set to be freed today. Israel paused fighting in parts of Gaza to facilitate his release. Goodwill gesture toward the U.S. Because there's reports that U.S. aren't working with Israel anymore. This appears to contradict that. Okay, still not getting information that he's in American soil or that he's been released. Yeah, no, you can tell that they're high. Those foreign diplomats, high as a kite. Allegedly. Here's Europe. Let's check in, see how they're doing. Well, hundreds of French national royalistes march in Paris today. France wants a revolution. Let me larger screen that. Here you go. It sounds like they're doing the people united will never be defeated. Europe has been invaded by the Obama doctrine, flooding non-citizens. It's being France. They've been invaded. What are they going to do about it? Europe is not okay. Soy Boy Destroyer says freedom of speech is the most important right of the Western. Okay, hold on. Freedom of speech is the most important right that the Western world has. Someone using unpopular language, being canceled, doxxed, threatened, only points to how fragile the offended party is. You can't simultaneously pretend to be based and also whine when someone says words that you hate. Wonder if people would agree with that. Because that's going after the MAGA members and the conservatives and the Republicans that are pushing that. In a potentially related story, here's Matt Gaetz talking about the Israel lobby.
If I want to get into government, do I have to support Israel?
You know, the
It's got music in the background.
Israel lobby has an incredible power over the
What's going on?
And what we've seen is
The Israel lobby has an incredible power over Congress, I believe is what he was saying.
on the left or on the right, if you question the policies of the Israeli government, legitimately, people will accuse you of anti-Semitism.
And why is he not the Attorney General? Why is it Pam Bondi instead? Didn't Pam Bondi have the ability to go after Epstein in Florida, but she chose not to? Matt Gaetz wanted to do things, and he was removed. He was targeted, attacked, and ultimately not the Attorney General. It was a weird move why he left Congress and became AG, only to not be AG. Why even leave Congress if you're going to do that?
And that is weird and wrong and kind of unlike anything else we see anywhere else. Now, there are legitimate expressions, of concern regarding.
I don't know what this person is in the corner. Is this a real person or just like a statue? Like, what's up?
Regarding the anti-Semitism that we see on college
or like a doll or a mannequin, I mean?
Campuses. But I got to tell you, no one's asked me the question that directly. And
oh, that looks like a person. I think they were moving.
The truth is, if you oppose the U.S.-Israel relationship, you face tremendous headwinds to get into government. Not just appointed government, but elected government as well. Dude, it's moving. And
What is
the thing?
If I want to get
Why is there a person underneath them? I'm very confused by this video. But there have been too many laws that you can't have certain speech about certain groups of people. And that doesn't make sense. That's not American. Bella, Matt Gaetz is wasting his time. Why? Wasting his time by talking to this guy? I don't know who this guy is. It's shared from Antunes account. I don't know who these people are or what's going on. Why there's somebody under his chair and somebody in the corner. It's kind of strange. Yeah, Matt Gaetz is one of the few that Matt Gaetz, Thomas Massey. There's a few politicians that call out the Israel lobby and dual citizenship and and allegiances that may not be number one for the United States. And that's a problem. Your allegiance needs to be number one to the United States to serve. Here's Real America's Voice.
There's a lot of truth coming out of the White House, but on the other side of the black fence, there's a gentleman who calls himself the Truth Conductor. He has been out front of the White House and on the streets of D.C. for over 50 years. I've got a couple questions for him. Let's go.
Music. Anyway, you can watch that segment, but the quote that they're using is, "We got money for Israel, we got money for Ukraine, but we don't have money for our homeless veterans." I'll just type prioritize Americans button. So you can check that out. I'm not going to play you all 5 minutes. Here's Megyn Kelly talking again about Michelle Obama and some odd speech choices.
Obama, listen to this. And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning.
Michelle Obama says she is transitioning. She has a book called Becoming. Talking to Marlon Wayans, said something, something, something as a black man. That was maybe attributed to her saying Marlon Wayans as a black man, but she said it really clunky. Now she says she's transitioning, but she has more.
You know, I'm 60 years old. I've finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girl.
What was the hard thing? Being the most powerful family on earth and collecting millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's the hard thing.
Girls are in, you know, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase?
Once again, speaking a reference to her time as First Lady negatively, and I'm transitioning. I mean, an interesting choice of words, given how the internet refers to her. Michelle.
The internet refers to her like the internet is a thing. Stephen Miller saying the right of due process. Well, I know I wasn't making fun of Megyn Kelly there. It's interesting because the internet is a thing. It almost is. Like, oh, if AI is here, it's like AI is here. AI is the internet. It's just, you know, there might be another way to condense the output in a personified kind of way. But yeah, the internet does what the internet does when things are trending, when stories are promoted, the heat button that TikTok uses to make stories go mega popular and to downrank other things like YouTube does. So anyway, Stephen Miller says the right of due process is to protect citizens from their government. Bella's chancing, is Michelle going to transition back to a man? You know, and language is important. It's very important. And I just, the book name Becoming. A man can't become a woman can't become a man. Transitioning. You're not transitioning. You're altering. A transition assumes there's a starting point and an end point. There is no point that you're going to be able to change your chromosomes. You cannot do it. You cannot transition. You can go from an NBA player to an NBA head coach. But you can, I don't know, just the word transition. It's not like you go to school for 4 years and then you transition. You get a graduate, you get a degree, you graduate. And now you've transitioned into a college graduate. And you can't go back to being a college student. Now you could go back for secondary and go back for a doctorate or different degrees or something, I guess. But you don't really transition. It's not a destination. You don't ever become the opposite sex. You don't. So I don't know, just the language of transitioning. But that is interesting. Is Michelle going to transition back to a man? Michelle Obama has never, as far as I know, claimed it. Joan Rivers claimed it. She used an interesting language, though. Into what is Obama transitioning into? Yeah, of course, in the context of this, transitioning out of responsibility mode. You know, just it's fun to dunk on Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, and I don't like the policies that they pushed, regardless of who they are and what they do in their bedroom. Like all that stuff aside, regardless of any of that, it's easy to dunk on them. It's super easy. It seems like it's getting easier by the day as the Obama doctrine unwinds everywhere. Everything it's touched has turned to shit. But, yeah, I mean, just transitioning from responsibility mode. I need to put on a public face for 8 years. I'm in the public eye, and I got to dress up, and I got to go to the things, and I got to go to the other things, and sit through 6 hours of this thing, and I got to go to this, and I got to, like, it is a lot. I mean, boo-hoo, making millions, like, whatever. Sign me up for 8 years and get out on the other side where I never have to worry again for the rest of my life. Okay. So we all dream of is the chance where you don't have to worry. You can just kind of live. That's what people aim for, I suppose. But yeah, not having a responsibility of raising children. They're grown adults and out of the house now. and they can finally get that divorce. They can finally get out from that situation and go do something of their own. They don't have the responsibilities on their plate. Those rumors have been going around for a long time about the Obama divorce. We'll see if any of it happens. I don't know. Back to Stephen Miller. He says the right of due process is to protect citizens from their government, not to protect foreign trespassers from removal. Due process guarantees the rights of a criminal defendant facing prosecution, not an illegal alien facing deportation. That's a good one right there if you agree or disagree with. The debate is raging. David saying, but in reality, she is an actor playing whatever role that's being told to play. The world is but a stage, right? The world is but a stage. So let's check this out. President Trump says, so the fact that the Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction so bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers. MAGA. So Trump's getting a plane. I'll unpack that on X with some other posts.
When I was in the other...
Here's Scott Bessent talking about where he used to be on the outside, and is it wrong to keep using the phrase fake news?
Side of the wall, I never really liked the term fake news. Now that I am on the inside and I can see what they're reporting, I think the term fake news probably isn't strong enough. It's really not. That they start with an a priori, they've written the story, and then they just kind of shape shift facts to back into it, because many of the stories that I've been involved with are just so far off. There was a story in the New York Times the other day that talked about 50% headcount decreases at the IRS. Nobody's talking about that. These were on background, these were not named sources, and they're just trying to stir tumult during taxpayer filing season. I mean, it's crazy. When I was on the other side of the wall, I never really...
Yep. We said fake news is lying legacy media. They're traitors and they need to be punished for their treasonous activity. They are complicit. Scott Bessent continuing to do a very good job. I think he's the highest rated Trump cabinet pick.
Remember
This is Idaho Girl Politics. Do you remember
how the liberals didn't care about inflation under Joe Biden? And then when the media couldn't hide it anymore, they lied to you about it being transitory. And then when the Biden administration couldn't hide the fact that it was no longer transitory, they changed the definition of transitory. And then liberals just continued to watch their prices go up in silence. But then on day one of Trump being in office, they were complaining about their egg prices. And it's all the media talked about. And now it's been 3 full months of lowering inflation, and the media is silent. If you trust the media, you're still wearing a mask and you've got one over your eyes and your ears as well. Remember how the liberals didn't care about inflation under Joe Biden?
mask over your eyes?
We have...
David saying, either way, everything they've done has basically been negative. The Obamas, other words, it's all a lie. Yeah, Manchurian candidate, if I've ever seen one. MAGA voice here says, breaking, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent from the previous video stuns the world, confirming the U.S. and China have reached a 90-day trade deal, lowering tariffs. Let's hear him explain this.
Have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The vice premier I had previously had only a video call with. Ambassador Jameson was familiar with 2 of the other leaders on the delegation from his previous time. So there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S., we have...
Good. Let's see what happens with that. Clay Travers says, just this weekend, Trump announced a trade deal with China, brokered an in-person meeting between Ukraine and Russia, helped stop a potential war between India and Pakistan, announced an end to big pharma U.S. profiteering, and got the final American hostage freed by Hamas. Yeah, kudos, Tom. The Epoch Times is reporting. Yes, I like this new ratio. This is kind of working. Epoch Times says DHS says arrests are on the table for lawmakers after ICE detention center incident. You saw this in New Jersey, right? Sidney Powell says, what the hell do you mean could face arrest? They should be hunted down and homes raided like the J6 defendants. Trump was elected to end the double standard. They should have been arrested on the spot. Uh-huh. Where are the damned indictments button? This goes for everybody. Democrats weaponize their stuff. Why isn't the other side? Have you had this experience here? Joey Manorino puts this out. Someone just told me that Trump is a fascist. I asked them to name 3 fascist things he's done since being elected. Their answer was, so you're a fascist too. I asked once again for them to name 3 fascist things he's done since being elected. Their answer was, oh, you're not a serious person. Point proven. They just regurgitate bumper sticker stuff. Fox News puts this out. This is New York City mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa, Republican, talking about AOC. She killed the Amazon deal, ghosted her district, and thinks viral TikToks make her a legislator. Curtis Sliwa. I think he was that guy, the Hells Angels or something? Actually, now I'm curious. Curtis Sliwa. Am I spelling that right? I'm kind of like straining to see it. Let me see. Grok. Curtis Sliwa. Founding of the Guardian Angels, not the Hells Angels. There you go. A volunteer crime prevention group started in 1979 to combat violence on New York City subways. Well, bravo to you. It's a shame the police can't just do it. President Trump says drug prices to be cut by 59%, plus gasoline, energy, groceries, and all other costs are down. No inflation. Love, Donald John Trump. Hey, never forget when Biden sent forklifts to let illegal aliens invade America through the razor wall. Look at this. Remember that? Never forget. Never forget. Also, make sure you're aware of this story. Former failed candidate for Georgia State House, Carl Sprayberry, who was arrested, who had called for Mar-a-Lago to be bombed, had been arrested as a part of a human trafficking operation targeting people who arranged to have S with a child and has S explicit conversations with children online. Gross. There's his post where he's calling for domestic terrorism. There he is. Adios, pal. Leading report says President Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Homeland Security to add at least 20,000 law enforcement officers to carry out what he calls the largest deportation in American history. Benny Johnson went on the Adam Carolla show, and he talked about Bill Clinton. Let's take a listen.
Bill Clinton went 27 times to Epstein Island. Really? Has yet to be asked a single time.
How many times did Jimmy go? If any. There's this dichotomy with Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla. Like, How did Jimmy go so like intolerable and unfunny and absolutely an agent of the ABC, Disney, ESPN deep state? And Adam's just staying in his lane, doing his thing.
On the record.
I do love that.
About this. Hillary is yet to be asked about this. Hillary ran for damn president. She's teaching a class at Columbia University.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asks about this. Not once. There's not one piece of tape of any of the interviews that they do where there's like, so just something in the news, Epstein, why? Why so many times on the plane?
Right. I did see a clip. It was Minka Brzezinski from Morning Joe talking to Joe Biden about the records and the woman who claims he molested, whatever.
Personnel records aside, are you certain there was nothing about Tara Reid in those records? And if so,
I am absolutely certain.
Why not approve a search of her name in those records?
Approve a search of her name.
I love the infused confusion. Cop pulls you over and he goes, "Can you pop the trunk? I want to see what's in the trunk." And you spend 20 minutes going, "There's nothing in the trunk." And he goes, "Okay, just pop the trunk." "Yeah, why? Who's going to pop the trunk?" "Wait a minute. Pop your trunk of your car? I don't have your car." No. Pop the trunk. You want me to pop the trunk of your car?
Bill Clinton went 27 times.
That is really how it goes. "You want me to pop the trunk of your car?" Uh-huh. It's a tell. So I'm reading about this here. I don't know about this guy, Russ Vought. Melissa Hallman saying, let me look this guy up. Russ Vought. Russ Vought. They're saying Russell Vought to lead Doge after Elon Musk steps down. President Trump's top budget official looking to lock in many of Elon Musk's cost-cutting efforts once the billionaire CEO steps aside from the government. Taking over the Doge agenda, first up, the military. U.S. aid, OMB. Doge, Russ, Vought. Director of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, since Feb 25. Key figure alongside Doge, led by Elon and Vivek. Vivek is still a part of Doge? I don't think he's part of Doge. Small part. Vote, a Christian nationalist and Project 2025 architect. What am I reading here? Grok seems really weird today. Shrink government, OMB role. Vote. Okay, hold on. Will Russ Vought take over Doge? Okay, here you go. I don't know who Melissa Hallman is, but this is from the Wall Street Journal. Trump's budget hawk takes over the Doge agenda. Russ Vought picking up where Elon Musk is leaving off. No credible source suggests that Vought is positioned to replace Musk or Ramaswamy. Focus remains on OMB aligning Doge's goals through existing power to shape federal policy and budgets. Any speculation about a takeover will be unfounded based on current information. If new developments arise, I can search for updates. Okay. Unconfirmed report according to Grok. Well, just keep your eyes peeled if Elon leaves. Bad Hombre put this out. There's been a trade deal with the UK. There's been a trade deal with China. There's been a ceasefire mediated between India and Pakistan. And the Democrats say, but he goes golfing on the weekends. Uh-huh. You've never seen a president work harder. Whoa. Oh, wait. Hold on. Hold on. I'm not sharing the right page.
Call. And now we have a...
There's too much music in the background. I don't want to get flagged for that like a prayer. But go ahead and watch this. This is, well, here. In Wisconsin, we have a projection.
NBC News projecting that Wisconsin was one.
If the music wasn't here, I'd be able to enjoy this more.
On your screen,
we are now projecting that the next president
States is Donald Trump.
Is Donald Trump. Yeah, I can rewatch this. We did a massive live stream that night.
Pennsylvania.
Is this a call, ladies and gentlemen?
We are now projecting that Donald J.
Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania.
Donald J. Trump will win.
That music is killing me, Holmes. And thereby,
he is on his way to becoming the
47th president of the United States.
A lot of work to do. November 2020.
Anyway, it's a fun video to watch. Libertarian rebellion. This is like Lord of the Rings. FBI and Department of Justice is the ring and the power. Libertarians say, cast it into the fire, destroy it. The GOP, no. When you're holding it, it's too powerful. Hey, by the way, did you catch this? NPR put an editor's note on July 8, 2022. This story quotes the U.S. Declaration of Independence, a document that contains offensive language about Native Americans, including a racial slur. Tea Party patriots. Yeah, this is why NPR can't have nice things. It's the Declaration of Independence, people. This one here is showing some posts, media posts from the new Pope. J.D. Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others, said Robert Prevost, the Pope. Cardinal Dolan, why Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric is problematic. Rhetoric is problematic. Yeah, the Vatican has a wall. And Wokeness did this. In the Rubin report, Dave Rubin said, what would his opinion on anti-immigration rhetoric be if the Vatican were flooded with radical Muslims demanding a mosque be there instead? Riddle me this. Riddle me that. Western Journal reporting there's a groundbreaking report exposing massive Biden failures in Gaza, 62 U.S. troops harmed and $230 million wasted. Click to see the whole story, but yeah, I mean, everything about Biden was a massive mess. Hey, remember when they told you violent gangs taking over apartment complexes was fake news? No, it wasn't. They just didn't want you to know that this is what would happen everywhere unless they were met with a stronger opposing force. People have infiltrated America to steal, to loot, to commit as many crimes as they can, to just run roughshod over our country. You're not coming into our house and acting like that. Hell no. Here's Fleckus talking about it.
Owner of the 600,
or at least playing this clip,
78-unit Palatial apartments says they never financially recovered after Tren de Aragua gang members broke into hundreds of apartments, damaged them, and even rented them to people who had been staying at the city's migrant resource center.
So this has been kicked in. It's gone.
Last summer.
Remember, that's not happening. Oh, that's happening. It's just a couple of things. Don't worry about it. It's kind of like the trans thing. Oh, that's not happening. Like the trans in women's sports. I'm sorry. It's the men with gender dysphoria joining women's sports. Oh, that's not happening. Oh, it's happening, but it's only happening a little bit of time. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, which one is it? It can't be both. If it's happening, it should happen 0 times. This should happen 0 times.
John Barker showed us how many of his apartments were being lived in by people who had left the migrant center or the airport shelter operated by the city. Some had paid money to gang members to stay there.
They had their own leases that they were signing with these residents or with these migrants that they were bringing in, taking their money and breaking into our units.
Barker says he begged the city for help, but at first an assistant city attorney responded with indifference.
And he said verbatim to me, "We refuse to acknowledge there's a migration issue."
Wow. And then CNN will cover this and say Trump cracks down on immigrant real estate entrepreneurs.
The owner of the 600...
Yeah. Vote every Democrat out of office, please.
Today.
This is RFK Jr. exposing over 100 members of Congress with big pharma ties. Lisa is asking to arrest them all for poisoning Americans.
Over 100 members of Congress.
Should I read it in his voice? Today, over 100 members of Congress
support a bill to fund Ozempic.
Support a bill to fund Ozempic. With Medicare at $1,500 a month. Most of these members have taken money from the manufacturer of that product, a European company called Novo Nordisk. As everyone knows, once a drug is approved for medicine, it goes to Medicaid. And there's a push to recommend Ozempic for Americans as young as 6 over a condition, obesity, that is completely preventable and barely even existed 100 years ago. Since 74% of Americans are obese, the cost of all of them, if they take their Ozempic prescriptions, will be $3 trillion a year. This is a drug that is made Novo Nordisk, the biggest company in Europe. It's a Danish company, but the Danish government does not recommend it. It recommends a change in diet to treat obesity and exercise. Virtually Novo Nordisk's entire value is based on its predictions of what Ozempic is going to sell to Americans. For half the price of Ozempic, we could purchase regeneratively raised organic agriculture, organic food for every American. 3 meals a day and gym membership for every obese American. Why are members of Congress doing the bidding of this Danish company instead of standing up for American farmers and children? Because Novo Nordisk are the largest funders of medical research. The media and politicians and the medical schools all go along with them. Not the easiest impression to do. Yeah, I'm super skeptical of this Ozempic stuff. Super skeptical. Here is Marco Rubio, who may or may not be positioning himself to be the next president of the United States. Is it him? Is it J.D. Vance? I don't know. But here's how Marco Rubio is dealing with former Obama, what was he, chief of staff, George Stephanopoulos, or was he the press secretary?
Puzzled by the steps that President Trump has taken to placate Vladimir Putin. I want to bring up a post that Lisa Murkowski.
Well, which ones? What steps has the president taken to placate?
Let me show you. Let me show you what.
Are we arming the Russians? Are we providing economic assistance to the Russians? Have we given the Russians $180 billion?
Please let me ask you a question. This is Lisa Murkowski, and here's what she says. This week started.
Lisa Murkowski, one of the worst people in Congress.
With administration officials refusing to acknowledge that Russia started the war in Ukraine. It ends with a tense and shocking conversation in the Oval Office and whispers from the White House that they may try to end all U.S. support for Ukraine.
Okay. So that's the contention from Lisa Murkowski because she's a war hawk, a fearmonger, and a deep state asset. George what do I call him? George Snuffleupagus is what I call him. Served as a key aide to President Bill Clinton during his first term, 93 to 96. He joined Clinton's 92 presidential campaign as deputy campaign manager for communications and became White House communications director after Clinton's election. Later, he served as senior advisor for policy and strategy, instrumental in shaping Clinton's public image and handling media relations scandals like Whitewater and Paula Jones, often working to discredit accusers. Oh, so he's a hitman. He's a reputational hitman. He resigned in December 96, citing burnout, published a memoir, All Too Human. Okay, so he was a key aide, deputy campaign manager for communications, presidential campaign. So yeah, I was pretty close. Not chief of staff, but a communications director.
I know foreign policy is not for the faint of heart, but right now I am sick to my stomach as the administration appears to be walking away from our allies and embracing Putin, a threat to democracy and U.S. values around the world. Those are not my words. That's Senator Lisa Murkowski. What's your response?
Well, yeah, we're a free country. People have a right to these opinions. I would just say to you, what have we done to placate the Russians? The only thing we've done is say, are you guys willing to talk about peace? I say the same point. We're not giving that. We haven't given.
You voted with North Korea and Russia and you voted with North Korea and Russia and Belarus in the United.
Man, you were complaining that he was talking over you. Now you won't let him finish his thought.
Nations and against our Western allies.
No, let me tell you. All right. So you know what do you know what the United Nations resolution was? I'll tell you if you want to hear what it was. It basically said this has been a horrible war. It's time for it to end. The job of the UN is to bring about peace in the world. I thought that's what the UN was created to do, to stop wars and to prevent them. And that's what the resolution did. Was it antagonistic towards the Russians? No. Back to the point. But it also didn't praise the Russians. All it said is, this is a bad war. It needs to end. And by the way, at the Security Council, which has not been widely reported, the first resolution on Ukraine that has passed the Security Council in 3 years passed this week because of the leadership of President Trump. And it's a resolution that says, bad war needs to end. Let's bring the two sides together. That's what the resolution is. Again, what is the United Nations for? Isn't it not a forum to promote peace in the world? And shouldn't our president, shouldn't we all be happy that we have a president who's trying to stop wars and prevent them instead of start them? And I just don't get it. I really don't, other than the fact that it's Donald J. Trump. If this was a Democrat that was doing this, everyone would be saying, well, he's on his way to the Nobel Peace Prize. This is absurd. We are trying to end a war. You cannot end a war unless both sides come to the table, starting with the Russians. And that is the point the president has made. And we have to do whatever we can to try to bring them to the table to see if it's even possible. I'm not promising you it's possible. I'm not telling you it's 90% likely. I'm saying it's 0% likely if we don't get them to a negotiating table. And the sooner everyone grows up around here and figures out that this is a bad war that's heading in a bad direction with death and destruction and all kinds of dangers surrounding it that could spiral into a broader conflict, the sooner people grow up and realize that, I think the more progress we're going to be able to make. But the president's crystal clear. He campaigned on it, and he's going to govern on it. And that is, he is going to be a president that tries to achieve peace, and he has been very clear this is a war that would have never happened had Donald Trump been in the White House, and it needs to end, and we're going to do everything we can to end it in an enduring and sustainable and fair way.
You said in your confirmation hearings that Russia will have to make concessions to get a peace deal. What concessions do you expect them to make?
Well, why would I say that on a news broadcast? That's what negotiations are about. That's the problem here. Again, everybody's... this is not a messaging exercise.
And by the way, I don't mind him asking, but you don't answer questions like that. You can't ever give specifics.
Okay, this is, can they get to a table? And then there's hard work to be done. You're absolutely right. I'm not telling you this is an easy peace deal. The Russians will give you a 30-minute lecture on the history of Ukraine and this, that, and the other. The Ukrainians have their own point of view. There's no doubt about it. But what peace deal in the history of the world has ever been easy? That's the hard work of diplomacy. That's exactly...
When I press pause, it's supposed to pause the video, but it sends me to the bottom of the screen on Instagram for some reason. Yeah, when Tucker Carlson went to go talk with Vladimir Putin, he famously, Putin went on like a 20-minute, 30-minute explanation about the history of Russia. And, Tucker was like, look, all due respect, I'm trying to get through a lot of stuff here. We have limited time. I don't really understand the purpose of this whole history lesson, but it's in the history lesson that you kind of, he's making the case that Ukraine isn't a sovereign place. It's a region of Russia. Like, that's his perspective. That's a lot of the people that live there. That's their perspective. Whether you agree with, I don't know, you can't agree or disagree with history, I guess. Either something is or it isn't. You can agree or disagree whether it's relevant, whether it's important or not. But yeah, Marco Rubio is very astute to point that out, because Russia doesn't want to change. They don't want to acquiesce. Are they going to run roughshod across all of Europe. They're going to try to take over everything. I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch, it seems. And that is kind of what they're claiming. But isn't there a way to draw down this war without giving things up? Crimea was annexed whatever the appropriate term is. Crimea transferred under Obama. So the question is, why does it seem like President Trump is getting blamed for what happened there? Well, it's because they're trying to blame Trump with anything to make him look bad. The honest reality of it. So that was an interesting conversation. I think we learned a little bit. Here's a flashback real quick. Caitlin Collins asking the president of El Salvador if he plans to return an MS-13 gang member.
That question also. Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. With respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. And I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for his help to get him back? Is that your position? Well,
no version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it per the court can only be directed to him.
I asked President Bukele, can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm also not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
Well, it's a legal dispute, so I just wanted to get some clarity on it, Mr. President.
That's why nobody watches you anymore. You have that question also.
Yes, gladly.
That's why nobody watches you anymore. Not like they ever really did watch her. Sasha Series says, here's another delivery from Kenya that's arrived in Germany. These all military aged men. Looks like an invasion in Normandy. Like, not entirely certain what this video. I mean, this could be workers on this ship who are completely legal for all I know. I don't understand the context of this video. But the UK has been invaded by non-citizens. That much is not even in dispute. I'd be curious to see if anybody claims that's in dispute, because it's not. Wouldn't stop somebody from lying about it, but I don't think they are. Anyway, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says last week, serious. Remember, we have to kind of air quote some of these. Last week, serious Republican legislators whined about voting for my bill, the Gulf of America Act. Oh, is that a fact? And held their nose, casting that vote. This week, are serious Republicans capable of supporting 2024 campaign promises by voting to defund NPR and PBS, vote to criminalize sex changes on children, vote for no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, and permanently abolish U.S. aid? Yes or no? Is that going to happen? Or are serious Republicans in Washington conspiring to go back to their establishment ways of funding abortion, the military-industrial complex, big pharma, and turning their campaign promises into lies, as usual? What is it? We go back in session tomorrow. Let's see what happens this week. The people are watching like never before. Man, we got to get some stuff done. Time to get all of this codified into law already. Move at a lightning pace, please. We are running out of time. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, hey, it's going to get interesting now, isn't it? I sure hope it gets interesting. By the way, listen to President Trump's executive order launching the first ever self-deportation program. This is important.
Today, I signed an executive order to launch the first ever self-deportation program for illegal aliens. We are making it as easy as possible for illegal aliens to leave America. Any illegal alien can simply show up at an airport and receive a free flight out of our country. We have also launched a phone app called CBP Home. That's CBP Home, where illegals can book a free flight to any foreign country. As long as it's not here, you can go anywhere you want. We're also adding a very important exit bonus for illegals to further incentivize their self-deportation. This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. What Biden did to this country can never be explained, will never, ever be accepted. Eventually, when the illegals are gone, it will save us trillions of dollars. However, if illegal aliens choose to remain in America, they're remaining illegally, and they will face severe consequences. Illegal aliens who stay in America face punishments including significant jail time, enormous financial penalties, confiscation of all property, garnishment of all wages, imprisonment and incarceration, and sudden deportation in a place and manner solely of our discretion. So to all illegal aliens, book your free flight right now. We want you out of America, but if you're really good, we're going to try and help you get back in. Thank you.
By the way, in the comments section, Bella's Chance said MTG not running for office again. According to Grok, I did just look this up. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene is running for office again. She declared her candidacy for re-election to the House of Representatives, Georgia's 14th district in the 2026 election. Her current term ends January 3rd of 27. Also expressing interest in running for higher offices, such as Senate or Georgia governor, but recently confirmed she will not pursue the Senate race against John Ossoff. Not ruled out gubernatorial run, but has not made a definitive decision on it. So there's that for you. Where are we at? What screen? Let's go back to this screen, okay? This is a major attack. Ceasefire. What is this? Mossad commentary. We are commentary based. 683,000 followers. But it's Mossad, so it's an intelligence agency. Take it for what it is. India, Pakistan. Ghislaine, anti-World Economic Forum said Ghislaine Maxwell's sister sits on the board of World Economic Forum. I'm going to ask Grok about this one. Does Isabel Maxwell sit on WEF board? Let's see what Grok wants to tell us about that. Does not. Recognized as a technology pioneer by the World Economic Forum and has been involved in World Economic Forum events. Spoke at conferences, but there's no evidence from available sources she holds a position on the board of trustees. All right. So she's next to it. She might not be standing directly over the topic, but she's definitely involved. Elbows deep, at least. Knuckles deep inside the borderline. Klaus Schwab, Thomas Buberl, Paula Ingeber, with no mention of Isabeth Maxwell. So that's maybe a not quite confirmed story. Actually, I'm going to change it. Not quite confirmed. She is somewhat active in WEF, according to Grok. But Grok disputes that Maxwell sits on the board. FYI. Good, we learned something together. Their father, Robert, was apparently a triple agent for MI6, Mossad, and CIA, and his corpse was found floating in the Atlantic in 91. All right, now I'm curious about that. I've heard that too. Robert Maxwell's death. What do we know about this? Was he found floating in the Atlantic in 1991? Body found floating in the Atlantic near the Canary Islands, fallen from his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. Oh, my God. Heart attack combined with accidental drowning. Suffered from serious heart and lung conditions. However, 3 pathologists could not agree on the exact cause of death, and the autopsy found no definitive evidence of heart attack, only a graze on his shoulder, and no signs of drowning, poisoning, or significant drugs. Accident, suicide, or murder, most foul. Okay. Well, more Ghislaine Maxwell talk. Let's talk about this. Nothing to see here says exactly what we've been saying is going on. When will people listen to us? We are saving Israel for last. That's a claim. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a Mossad agent. Epstein was controlled by the Mossad. Mossad is a key deep state player in all of this. We understand this. We've been calling it from the start, and those who wrote us off are confused. Funny how that works. Where are the Israel-pilled doomers at? Opinion by Thomas L. Friedman says this Israeli government is not our ally. And Donald Trump to announce the U.S. recognizes the Palestinian state. Gulf diplomatic source claims. That's coming from the Jerusalem Post. So let's see how this all shakes out. I don't know, but it is interesting. Seems like a bit of a new take on Middle East relations. The real tech nerd here is worried. With thousands of Mossad agents already operating here in the United States, they'll do whatever it takes to shift the narrative. The real tech nerd says, mark my words, a false flag is coming to the U.S. and it won't be by accident. Israel is losing ground fast. Let's hear this 22-second response from President Trump to a question.
The Houthis are backing down. We're seeing the Houthis are backing down. We're seeing conflicting reports that they plan on continuing to attack Israel in support of Gaza. Does that change the equation?
No, I don't know about that, frankly, but I know one thing, they want nothing to do with us, and they've let that be known through all of their surrogates, and very strongly.
So there you go.
Backing down. We're seeing
looks like the
conflicting
United
reports
States is, some say finally, running its own foreign policy instead of taking directives from foreign nations. Bella's Chan saying, oh, good. That was, I believe, about Marjorie Taylor Greene running for office again. Sorry, I left that at the bottom of the screen. It's tough. You know, maybe it seems easy because I'm so good at this. Pats self on shoulder. But it is kind of tricky. See right there, this one is not quite the right aspect ratio, so I should switch it. I need to make sure I'm changing the graphics at the bottom. But it's a lot to keep track of. I'm navigating between lots of different screens, and it does get confusing, but I try. Okay, saying Ghislaine Maxwell's sister is hiding in the shadows of the World Economic Forum. That I feel like that's a fair way to say that. I do. I really do. Liz Crokin reminding us that Isaac Cappy was a true legend who actually put out information for years, exposing Jeffrey Epstein's ring that put his life at risk. He was not suicidal, but his courage cost him his life. He also exposed many MAGA frauds, part of the Mossad media matrix, who've worked against real patriots, exposing things. He may be gone, but his work will live on forever. Yes, Isaac Cappy, man. Check that one out. Stephen Miller obliterating the biased media. I think we've seen enough of Stephen.
One on Abrego Garcia, please.
More Abrego Garcia. No, we've probably seen that already. Remember, nobody is above the law because we're arresting President Trump. Oh, but when the mayor of New Jersey is getting involved and breaking into an immigration facility, you can't arrest a mayor. Funny how that works, huh? Doggone it. Daily Mail, college student 21 and her stepfather 45 are shot dead in a road rage attack over a fender bender while he was arriving to drop off keys to the new home she had just bought. Which crimes are going to get nonstop coverage on the media? Which ones will get ignored? This is a white daughter and a white father killed by a black man. I haven't even heard of this story. In fact, doesn't even have the names in this Daily Mail story. But it just makes you wonder. If you can find one case where there's one white person who kills a black person, how large of a story do they make that? It's not just George Floyd. You know, we covered that story earlier about those cops, those black cops that got off for killing a black man. That didn't get any attention either. It just makes you wonder why certain stories get media attention and some don't. Anyway, rest in peace there. That's shooting someone over a fender bender is just trash. This is a good clip here from Jamie Dimon. Surprisingly based. He's been different this term.
JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon greets employees who used to work at this branch that burned down in the Palisades fire. Dimon takes photos of what's left of that branch and sits down with us in what will become the new branch within the next year.
The reason we're here is to come look at the Palisades, look at our branch, thank our people here, understand the issue a little bit better, thank our people for what they did. We did a town hall this morning. It's devastation, and we want to be part of rebuilding it. You learn what's going on. I think it needs a lot more work and a lot more help.
What lessons do you think the state could learn from business?
I changed the name of red tape to blue tape because it's the Democrats who seem to want more and more regulations. We need good regulations. We need good food. We need good financial system. We need good. It's just not more, and more. And you see it in everything, permitting and licensing, and there are lessons to be learned. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should be saying, I want an efficient government.
And get out of the way. Leave people alone. You need a little bit of the regulations, but I mean, when we're talking about these regulations, we're really just talking about criminal activity. Criminal activity is already criminal. You don't need to overdo it. Like he said, oh yeah, we need water and air. Yeah, those are already crimes to dump stuff into our water and air. It should be. But they make it so next to impossible to do business. I love that quote. It's one of the better quotes, maybe, that I've ever heard. I don't know if that's a little hyperbole, but I'd change the name from red tape to blue tape because it's the Democrats who seem to want more regulations. And out of all those, I don't know the exact number of homes, but I was listening to Adam Carolla, who lives there, and he's going through it. They said just a handful of homes have been permitted to be rebuilt. It's been months and months and months and months. What are you doing? Way too much regulation, way too much hassle, way too much. And we've known that about California for a very long time now.
Even the Palisades, if you want to get this built, you need, I would have a Palisades rebuilding building with everyone there in the room, literally. I have right here. I have sanitation, fire, police, roads, insurance, local, state, federal government in the room with charts. What are the problems? Because it's a huge...
Make it a one-stop shop but the Democrats aren't a party of business. Democrats are destroyers. They don't know how to build things. They destroy things. It's easy to destroy things and then just leave a power vacuum in between. Well, I didn't like what was there, so let's rip it out. Let's fire that person. Let's get rid of them. By the time Republicans are calling for people to be fired, you are way past the point. You've completely lost the plot. When Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, MAGA members, whatever you want, non-deep state members, yeah, once you look at the evidence and know who the bad guys are, you start screaming, go get them. So yeah, they'll try to tear that down because they're trying to tear down the people that are tearing other people down. Getting a little convoluted, but Democrats are destroyers, Republicans are builders. They don't know how to build. It's all red tape. It's all bureaucracy.
Huge management problem. And
it is a management problem, and it should be a one-stop shop, everything under one roof. Get it done, fast track it, go.
Government doesn't put, top people who can run projects into management. It's too often politicians who were academics who've never run anything.
Yeah, politicians who have never run anything. Leading report says breaking a key witness in Sean Diddy Combs' trial has been reported missing and may not be able to testify, prosecutors have revealed. Let me see if that's still the case. Diddy witness still missing? Missing. Witness protection. Have they been offed? Victim 3. Unable to locate her or contact her attorney? She was expected to provide very personal, explosive details of alleged abuse about Diddy, but doesn't live in New York, where the trial's being held, and may not appear even if subpoenaed. Disruption of the prosecution's case, with Combs' defense team pushing for clarity on whether she'll testify, and even suggesting the possibility of a mistrial or delay. Well, doggone it. That ain't good. Good for Diddy. Jack Poso saying, turns out the Pope's brother in Florida is a massive Trump-supporting patriot. Lou Prevost. JD was phenomenal debating Tim Walz in the moderate. Well, he was actually very knowledgeable and well-spoken. He'll make a great VP and then president. You cannot vote to murder children on Tuesday and sing, oh, how I love Jesus on Sunday. That's the anti-Democrat party. Lou Prevost. For my upset crying and left-leaning friends and others suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, this service seems right for you. Are you distraught after the Trump win? Lou says they tried to take President Trump out again. How does this happen? I wonder who is so afraid of him becoming president again that they want him dead. He must know and have some real dirt on some people. Just makes one imagine what they were trying to find when they raided his home for supposedly stolen and classified documents, if they're willing to kill for it. Lord, protect him and keep him safe. How about, can we make Lou Prevost the Pope next? President Trump has put a miniature statue of himself surviving the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania in the Oval Office. As you should. All right, Clandestine puts this out, and I'm going to say this for Bella, for David, for everybody in chat. By the way, if you haven't said hello, say hello, type your name, tell us where you're watching from in the chat room. We love hearing from you. But this message goes out to the people like me and like our regulars who are kind of going through it here. If you took a time machine and went back to any period over the last 4 years and told MAGA that 4 months into Trump's term, Cash and Bongino would be number 1 and number 2 at the FBI, and they're arresting child abusers and going over the Epstein files, everyone would have taken that deal. That's not even taking into account all the peace deals, the tariff plan to get rid of income tax, shutting down gain of function, removing chemicals from our food, Doge, USAID, securing the border, removing DEI and wokeness, deporting illegals, JFK, RFK files, etc., etc. How quickly some have forgotten just how bad it was and how much progress we have already made. Perspective. But yeah, JFK, RFK, Epstein, we're not getting the actual files. So like we're still frustrated. That's kind of what's going on there. This is that report, USAID recipient Hillary Clinton, USAID, blah, blah, blah. Intelligence inspector confirms Hillary. Check that video out. Matt Van Swol says, let me get this straight. If I attempted to break into an ICE detention facility and start shoving federal agents, I'd be in jail immediately. But when a Democrat does it, they go on MSNBC and claim America is now an authoritarian state. Can someone explain this? Here is the scandal. Let's watch this video in full. Let me full screen this so you can get a good look at. Here we are. Nope, I'll go like that. Why does this guy look so much like Podesta from that angle? So there's the bag on the table. Check it out.
It's a long walk. I'll be back in Poland.
And through my bathroom, huh?
Yeah. It's literally. We came through Germany, and then we made it to France.
German bedroom, and
we got through the border.
Right.
The photo, and after that, we'll be allowed to have a drink.
Yeah.
And right there, he notices and grabs it. Right there. He's like, oh, this is on the table. Yeah. Sleight of hand, right hand, underneath his elbow. And look at the left hand. See, look how nervous this hand. He doesn't know what he's doing to hide for this picture or where to put his hand. Number one, reach for the bag and watch the left hand try to look comfortable on the elbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Struggling to look comfortable here. Move it from the right hand to the left hand and into the pocket. White powder on the table. They said Mers hides the spoon. I didn't see a spoon.
It's a long walk. I'll be back in Poland.
And through my bathroom, huh?
Was there a spoon somewhere?
We came through Germany,
and
then we made it to France.
German bedroom, and
we got through the border.
I didn't see a spoon.
We'll be allowed to have a drink.
Oh, that was smooth.
We'll be allowed to have a drink.
It must be that little thing right there. Is it a spoon or a straw? Okay, he grabs it right there with his right hand. Oh, I don't know if that's a spoon. It might be a straw. This says this is a tissue. No, I'm going to rate this. No. Sources don't support, incorrect information, opinion or speculation. No, I'm not going to say that. I looked at it. That's not a tissue. All right, White Ghost, check this out. Did you see this story? This is terrifying. A registered nurse. I need to look this person up. Boyce Kametrale. Boycekemetrale. Has there been an arrest made, or is this a fake story? Former student, Prairie State College, registered nurse. Controversial Facebook post where she allegedly claimed to have intentionally harmed white patients, stating, I randomly off your kind regularly in the hospital, and referring to white patients as clear specimens. Screenshots of the post went viral, amassing over 1.5 million views, sparking widespread outrage on social media, accusations of racism, and calls for investigations. Prairie State College issued a statement May 10, acknowledging the allegations without naming Lee directly, and confirmed that their campus police, in collaboration with the Chicago Heights Police Department, initiated an investigation. Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation reportedly received complaints, launched an inquiry into Lee's nursing license, though no official statements from the IDFPR Lee herself have been publicly verified. However, there are inconsistencies in reports about Lee's status. Some sources, including posts on X, clarify that Lee is a student and a certified nursing assistant, not a practicing registered nurse. And the claims about her harming patients remain unverified, with no supporting legal or news records. The authenticity of the Facebook post itself is also unconfirmed, and Lee has reportedly deactivated or privatized her social media accounts to avoid backlash. The situation remains under investigation with no conclusive evidence or official charges reported today. The viral nature of the post fueled significant public debate, but caution is warranted due to the lack of verified information. Okay. That's what I tell you all the time, is to just take all of these stories with a grain of salt. But it looks like that's what this person was doing. So be aware. There may be indoctrinated people of certain demographics who have fallen victim to the Obama doctrine of racial hatred and division, who might hate you. And someone like Scott Adams might say, if you find yourself living in an area where an uncomfortably large percentage of people hate you, you might want to leave. Okay, Bella's chance. I played it again. I played it 3 or 4 times. I think you saw it, right? I did rewind it a few, but I missed it the first time. That dude was actually a little smooth with it. Macron was not smooth with it. And given the Candace Owens accusations about Macron, maybe smooth with it could be the punchline to several jokes about the person Macron is allegedly betrothed to. Quick, hide the yayo. If it's a spoon, it's a very little spoon. Anyway, I digress, but keep it in mind. This story awaiting context and just self-defense and preparedness. You might be the victim of some hate from some people who have some irrational beliefs based on watching MSNBC and CNN and absorbing the Obama doctrine for years. Protect yourself accordingly. There may be nurses out there who are indeed harming white patients because they hate them. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for that story. I don't know. What is this? Elon reposted this, right? Maybe, maybe not. It says, I'm in South America and a friend, the account is I Like Teslas. I'm in South America and a friend who worked with USAID in different projects for 15 years just told me everything Doge found about the waste is true. We really lived a life of kings with USAID's money. So there you go. Here is Glenn Beck talking about why we might need to flee blue cities and flee blue states.
If you're living in Washington State, may I just say, get the hell out now. I've said
the
that
entire state?
The entire state. Get out of the state.
Wow.
And I'm dead serious on that. You're living in a state that has gone absolutely insane. First of all, we talked about this before, and nobody's really talking about this. The medical thing that they just passed in Washington State, and they passed it, and the governor has signed it. And basically it says, if there's a medical emergency, we can do whatever we want to you. Now, remember, this is the state that was talking about building like little internment camps for people who wouldn't get vaccinated last time. Okay?
Yep.
They're talking about that. If you think that they won't do that, you're out of your mind. You're crazy. And so it says if the governor decides that there's a medical emergency, a statewide emergency, that the state, based on, I love this one, based on scientific experts, they will dictate what happens to every individual. What you have to get. If scientific experts tell you have to take this, you will be forced to take that.
Nope.
I'm not having my kids in that state. I'm not living in that state.
Nope.
Are you living in that state?
No. Get the hell out. Flee blue cities, flee blue states. I responded to President Trump here. Who is this? Is there an update on Donovan Mitchell yet? Let me see. He's getting an MRI, unsure of Mitchell's status. Ankle is iffy for game 5. Okay. After an MRI showed he aggravated a previous left ankle injury. After coming out on the court to warm up during halftime, he felt discomfort in his left ankle and stopped midway through a shot attempt, bending over at the waist before the team's training staff came to get him. Went back to the locker room and did not play. He had a bad shooting night, 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from 3. Coming after back-to-back 40-point games on Sunday. Well, we shall see now. He's an MVP candidate. We shall see. All right. Hello, Kenneth. How are you? Nurse Kilroy. Nurse Killboys, Washington, are wasting tons of taxpayers' money. Wasting ton. Seattle wasting ton. All right. There we are. Donald Trump put this out, President Trump. So the fact that the Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction so bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody can do that. The Dems are world-class losers. MAGA. We replied to be quite candid, though, real Donald Trump. Your safety is paramount. And your plane needs to be American-made, American-scanned, American-developed, American-safeguarded. No Trojan horses need apply. Do you agree or disagree with that? How do you feel about getting a Qatari Air Force One? Would you trust it? I do not. I see a Trojan horse. What do you see? I can almost make the aspect ratio work, but I can't. Go like that. Lee Zeldin is saying stop-start technology. That's where your car dies at every red light, so companies get a climate participation trophy. EPA approved it, and everyone hates it, so we're fixing it. This is the 17th administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, proudly serving in President Donald Trump's cabinet. Yeah, I've never liked that, where your car stops at the red lights, and then you hear it start back up again and go. I don't know that that's a good. I don't know. I've never liked it. I don't know how effective it is, and I'm open to learning more about it. There's a question of the day. How do you feel about cars that stop when they stop, and then they got to restart to go again? What are your thoughts? I don't drive one that does that, so I don't have a personal. I've rented cars that do that, though. It's weird. I don't like it. Todd Starnes says, all of these incredible executive orders being signed by President Trump are worthless unless they are codified by Congress. The next president can simply rescind all of them. Enough with the endless vacations. The House and Senate should be working around the clock to codify every single one of the president's big, beautiful executive orders. Otherwise, we are fast approaching a political bloodbath in the midterms. Here is Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, if you missed this.
I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
It's refreshing to hear stuff like that out in the open. Oh, here it is again. Oh, check this out. This is so good. Let me full screen this. Here, Bella, you want to see it again? Actually, I don't know if he does the spoon here, but let's see. Look who else is in the room with him. Who knew? Yeah. Okay, there's music, so I got to mute it. There, he grabs it. So if it's a spoon, what is it that they're doing? What are they doing? They heating and injecting it? Is it heroin? What do you do with the cocaine? Isn't you smoke crack out of a rock? Here's Dave Chappelle and Hunter Biden. Oh, they're curious as to what's going on. This is a funny video. No, they didn't actually appear in this video. This is comedic. Green Frog Labs. I think Green Frog Labs does some funny stuff. Todd Starnes asked, what does it say about House Republican leadership if they can't even condemn 3 Democrat lawmakers who physically attacked ICE agents and stormed an ICE detention facility? Okay, I gotta mute the music here. But here, Bella, this is for you. Watch this. I mean, we're saying I muted it. Why did I get in the music again? It's right there. It's this long, skinny thing. Looks like a little straw. Looks like a little swizzle stick. And whoop. It's a little tiny, little nose candy, cocaine in a paper baggie. Oopsie daisy. Whoop. There's the uh-oh. That's where you would start playing the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. Dun, 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 dun. Well, there's your close-up. Now we got a super close-up of it. Did I play this earlier? Billion. I'm going to play it now. As soon as Kamala lost, here's what they did with the money.
A little over $40 billion was supplied in support through the Loan Program Office in its 15 years of existence, a little over $40 billion, and then almost $100 billion in the 76 days after they lost the election and before President Trump's inauguration. Look, if those were great ideas that were benefit to the America, why didn't they do it in the 2.5 years after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed? Why did they wait till they lost the election? They changed terms and loan covenants. They basically tried to set bombs to make it hard for us to unwind the mess they'd created. That's just not a responsible way to treat American taxpayer money and to move our energy system forward. So yes, we've stepped into a lot of mess, but this stuff's all fixable. We've got an aggressive team going after it. And you see already American energy prices are down. Investments in America to bring jobs back are up. So I think we're going the right direction. But yeah, we've got a lot to clean out. A little over 40.
A lot to clean out. Oh, man, here's another story. Just. Oh, this is brutal.
Tell me a little bit about the kind of sister that she was.
I'll say what my son said yesterday.
22-year-old Logan Federico sleeping in a rental home when a career criminal broke in, shot her, stole her credit cards, caught the next day going on a shopping spree with the credit cards.
She was his rock. They were,
This is just awful. What is the criminal history of this guy, and should he have been out?
they needed each other. And they were there for each other.
Yeah, I don't even. I won't be able to walk her down the aisle. Doggone it. So let's see about this killer, this Alexander Dickey guy. What's his criminal background? Hey, here's a teacher. Former California Teacher of the Year sentenced to 30 years to life in prison for abusing elementary school students. Did you hear this one?
I am speaking today because I am guilty of my crimes. I am deeply ashamed of my actions and the harm that I inflicted.
Are you ashamed, or you're just mad you got caught?
And the harm that I inflicted. Every parent wants their child's teacher to build up their child. I am speaking today.
Jacqueline Ma. Misconduct with minors. Adios. Charlie Kirk commentary says, so it turns out just about everyone in D.C. is funneling taxpayer dollars to their spouses or family members' NGO, nonprofit, firm, or foundation. Are you aware of that? It's one of the main ways that they're stealing from us, and Doge is catching them all. Josh says that Pam Bondi confirms foreign shell companies funneled money to city mayors in return for migrant protection. And we just said we would like a link to this story to investigate. That's just a claim. Nothing cited. I don't know what to do with that. David Santa Carla is showing what he says are thousands of Somalis and 4 white people. This isn't... Can't have the music. Music is banned in social media. This isn't Somalia. Where would you guess this is? Large families, lots of children, large Somali population. This is the mall in Minnesota. I believe where a Somali threw somebody off, I think it was a white kid actually, off of the top balcony. What was that story? Let me remember. Mall of America, Somali threw... I think that's what the story was. Let me check. Mental illness, April 2019, Emmanuel Deshawn Aranda, 24-year-old, threw a 5-year-old boy, Landon Hoffman, over a 3rd-floor railing in Mall of America. Guilty of attempted first-degree murder, sentenced to 19 years in prison, severe injuries for the boy, head trauma, multiple fractures, but made a remarkable recovery, returning to school again and walking. That's good. Okay. Oh, well, that's good. Some posts on X reference this, claiming Aranda is Somali and the victim was white, framing it in racial terms. The claims lack corroboration from primary sources. Aranda's background is not explicitly detailed as Somali. The one outlet mentioned it without evidence. The incident was not officially classified as racially motivated. But this person said that he went to the mall intending to K somebody, initially targeting an adult due to frustration from repeated rejections by women. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not getting laid, so I'm going to go hurt a man. I don't know. This story is all sorts of weird, and we're missing context according to Grok. But yeah, Minnesota, some BS mess. Messasota. Hey, I could do that. Anyway, just we just said that's the Obama doctrine. It's colonization. That's what he's been pushing, is importing the third world, because Americans have had it too good for too long. Jack Posobiec says, so she admitted it. In this video, Gateway Pundit sharing, I touch whoever I want, MFer. ICE body cam footage shows Democrat Representative LaMonica McIlver verbally and physically assaulting federal agents. Are they getting arrested or are they not? Steve Kirsch says, this is such a great clip. Talk about coercion. If they don't vaccinate willingly, we'll fire them. Huh. No coercion at all.
Number of people, for one reason or other, who just do not want to comply and get vaccinated. We've got to get them vaccinated. And hopefully they will do it willingly. If not, there will have to be things that will essentially put pressure on them, such as you're not going to work in this particular agency or in.
It's very date rapey. If you don't do this, it's very Harvey Weinstein. If you don't do this, you can't work in this town.
On them, such as,
I want you to put what I'm telling you inside of you, and if you don't, you can't work here.
You're not going to work in this particular agency or institution. You're not going to be able to go to this college or this university unless, in fact, you get vaccinated. And I believe that once we start doing that, you will see more and more people willingly get vaccinated. A number of people, for one reason or other, who just.
Awful. Pelosi worth $41 million in 04, 272 in 24. What happened in these 20 years? It's reported net worth, so we don't know if these are accurate numbers, but I think everybody should run an audit. Don't you? I do. We played this earlier. Biden administration targeting conservatives. Brianna Morello reporting Congressman Corey Mills had Mohammed al-Hanouti officiate his wedding, according to Blaze Media. Mohammed al-Hanouti is an unindicted co-conspirator in the 93 World Trade Center bombing plot, a major leader for the Muslim Brotherhood, and was believed to be a key fundraiser for Hamas. Mills denies converting to Islam. Mills currently sits on the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees. Corey Mills, what say you? Here's a story for David up there in Canada. This is crazy. In 1995, the population of Alberta was 3.8 million people. Today, it's 4.8, so 1 million more. But 3.8 million people in 95. Alberta Health Services had 5,000 employees. Today, the population rose by 1 million over 30 years. 130,000 employees are now on payroll for Alberta Health. Population increased 26%. Health employee increased 2,500%. It's all bloated and inefficient. You wonder why waiting lists in Canada are 1 million miles long, 1 million months long. MAGA fumes over New York's plan to pay Letitia James legal bills. Sam says, nice try, MSNBC. I'm a Democrat, always have been. No MAGA fumes here. Just the stench of 40 years of falsified mortgages, undisclosed rental income, and taxpayer-funded jet rides. If Letitia James wants to play victim, she can do it on her own dime, not mine. So we'll see. Bette Midler says, this is from a while ago, but it's an oldie but a goodie. Hey, NRA, how many lives did you take today? Brian Cates, 0. Now do Planned Parenthood. Scott Bessent describing why we had to renegotiate with China.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
Well, good. Chinese delegation revealed that President Biden stopped enforcing trade restrictions with China, and as a result, they were able to ignore their obligations. Derek Evans is saying that an MSNBC producer admits that the feds gave them anti-Trump narratives in exchange for access. Okay. No article cited, so let me do a search. Is this accurate? Oh, God, why did it do that? I'm copying this text. Come on, Grok, don't be weird. There we go. The claim appears to be false or misleading. Likely originating October 24 video. MSNBC producer Basil Hamden acknowledged the network's bias toward Democrats, but there's no evidence in that video or credible reports from May 25 confirming federal involvement or quid pro quo. Recent posts on X have spread this claim, but they lack verifiable sources and seem to misinterpret or exaggerate the statements. Without primary evidence, such as a direct quote from a named producer or official documentation, this remains an unverified rumor. Okay, we're learning today. Oh, I undid the repost, but I was going to add context. Now it's gone. That's why I don't usually do that. Gunther Eagleman is saying, did you know our GOP-controlled House and Senate sent fewer bills to President Trump than any Congress in 70 years? Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune are worthless. This is a big week. Get it done or get out of the way. Here's the bag. Is that a piece of paper or is that like a Coke baggie to you? Does that look like a tissue? There you go. Here's the big picture, people. David saying, well, he willingly knew what he was doing. Also evil. Dr. Fauci. Yes, indeed. No, I wouldn't say that's a tissue. That looks like a Coke baggie to me. American AF says Illinois has 24 schools where not a single child can read at grade level. Great job, J.B. Pritzker. Source, Illinois State Board of Education, Illinois Report Card 24. That's just atrocious. I can't even fathom what I'm looking at. Thank you for getting rid of the Department of Education because it's clearly not educating people. It's time to get on track. Democrat representatives stormed an ICE detention facility to campaign for MS-13 gang members, murderers, and pedos. Don't forget.
A mob of protesters stormed this gate to try and enter the detention facility. The detention facility holds members of MS-13, child rapists, murderers, arsonists, drug traffickers, American killers, and for them to try and get these individuals out is just beyond the pale. We know that the mayor, we know these members of Congress want their 15 minutes of fame so desperately, but they're willing to do it at the peril of the safety of our brave law enforcement and even the detainees as well. A mob of
so weird. Tommy Laren saying this is called treason. Nashville's feminine mayor Breaking 911 says Nashville's feminine mayor says the Tennessee Highway Patrol's cooperation with ICE is causing deep community harms. No, your community is saying get them the hell out of here. And he set up a fund to help illegal alien invaders in his city. With his salmon tie. Get out of here. Nick Sortor reporting the Trump administration has launched a probe into the state of California for providing federal benefits to illegal alien invaders. Radical left politicians in California prioritize illegal aliens over our own citizens, including by giving illegal aliens access to cash benefits, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said. This follows President Trump's executive order barring illegal aliens from receiving Social Security benefits and ordering a crackdown. Los Angeles County is in the crosshairs first. I'm sure there will be a treasure trove of fraud. Pam Bondi going after Letitia James. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
James tried to prosecute the now President Trump in his second term. I just want to read a couple things. Criminal referral, then a response from James's office here in New York. James, for both properties listed above, this deals with real estate now, going back decades, really, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, all right? Her office responded by saying the AG James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers. Specialist administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. The issue here is what property she owned and whether or not she owned it, whether or not she was married, and whether or not her father was involved in all this. Without going into the weeds of the details, this stems from a case in 1983 and the year 2000. That's a minimum of 25 years. Someone had to do some digging to find this. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Bill, the most I know about the case, I just learned from you. I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it. You just told me more than I've heard about it so far.
Hey, we aim to please with some breaking news of our own. Indeed. All right. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
We aim to please. 25 years of mortgage fraud by Letitia James. Bravo. Concerned citizen says this is the only man-made climate change people should be worried about. Look at all that shit in the skies. That's, I'm telling you, my Saturday was clear skies, sun. I'm like, this is great. And then they started doing this shit, and it was just smoggy, gross. Gross. I am so sick of them spraying shit in the skies. Department of Justice. Well, it's a 6-minute clip, so I'm not going to keep going on. DOJ taking on insurers. Derek Evans reporting here from the Fox clip. DOJ accuses Aetna, Elevance, and Humana of paying kickbacks to brokers. The Department of Justice filed a complaint accusing 3 of the largest health insurers of paying illegal kickbacks to major insurance brokers. Dan Bongino wants to give us an update. I'd like to update you on some things that I think are going well and some things that we can and will do better. The workforce has been working overtime on task force operations to remove dangerous illegal alien invaders from our country. The work continues. The message is clear. If you came here illegally and prey on our citizens, your days here are numbered. These removal and incarceration operations will dramatically change the crime landscape in the country when combined with the administration's laser focus on sealing the border shut. Expect these operations to ramp up, not slow down. Crimes against children are a priority for the workforce. Operation Restoring Justice, where we locked up child predators and 764 subjects in every part of the country, is just the beginning. We're going to take your freedom if you take away a child's innocence. Think twice if you've targeted children, because you're next. We're clearing information to Congress and the public as quickly as possible. In just the couple of months since we've been sworn in, we've responded to requests for information on the attack of Representative Steve Scalise and members of Congress, the Nashville attack, Crossfire Hurricane, the COVID cover-up, and more. We're working with the DOJ on the Epstein case, and as the AG stated, there are voluminous amounts of downloaded child abuse material that we are dealing with. There are also victim statements that are entitled to specific protections. We need to do this correctly, but I do understand the public's desire to get the information out there. We're doing our best in the current budgetary environment to prioritize the mission, act as good. What budgetary environment? Fix it. Figure it the hell out. Don't start making excuses, Bongino. Don't. We're doing our best in the current budgetary environment. That sounds like you're making an excuse, and that's weasel language. Your president controls the purse string. You figure it out. You need more people, earmark something, pass something, approve something. You have the House and the Senate and the president. Figure it the fuck out. Sorry, guys. When Cash starts saying, oh, yeah, Epstein did that to himself, lies. Oh, our budget, we're doing our best with the budget. Stop it. Just do it. Anyway, I just strikes me as weasel language. We're doing our best in the current budgetary environment to prioritize the mission, act as good fiscal stewards, find waste and inefficiencies, and to enact reforms while moving the FBI forward. It hasn't been easy, but we'll get it done. We have weekly meetings where we meet with our CFO and our new CIO and CTO team, and we go through budget items line by line. It's your money, and it's your FBI. We won't forget that. I have no desire to sugarcoat this one. It's been difficult in this new role to stay relatively quiet while certain elements of the media continue to entirely fabricate stories about what we're doing at the FBI. But that's part of the job as a public servant. I don't work for myself anymore. I work for the public. And while I can't address all of the nonsense in this one post, I will address the repeated attacks on Director Patel. The director's office is attached to mine. I am in most of the briefings he is in. He spends anywhere between 10 and 12 hours in the office attending meetings with everyone, from foreign heads of law enforcement to our counter-terror teams and more. Any assertion otherwise is verifiable lie designed to stop our reforms and fracture your trust. I will die on this hill. You are being clearly lied to by people with an agenda, and it's not your agenda. Thanks for allowing me to communicate with you on this channel. Other things are happening as well, and they will become evident in the coming weeks and months. Keep watching us and holding us accountable. God bless America and those who defend her. All right. So here it is, the woman who's assaulting ICE agents all on camera. Representative McIver, is that an L or an I? McIver? I don't know.
It is unacceptable that me as a member of Congress, as a black woman here in this city.
What does your race or your gender have to do with anything other than Democrats try to make that an issue every chance they get for division? Divide, divide, divide. Accuse, accuse, accuse. You're a human being acting like an asshole. I don't think it has anything to do with your skin color or anything to do with your genitalia. And putting it out there like there is a reason because of your skin color or genitalia makes you a monster. It's about how you're acting and what's acceptable and unacceptable. Assaulting ICE agents on camera. Oh, better play the melanin card. Better play the vagina card. How about judge you on your actions, not any of these completely irrelevant topics? Stay focused.
It is unacceptable that me as a member of Congress, as a black woman here in this city, was just assaulted by multiple ICE officers. Wow, regional directors of ICE watched it happen. It is.
I'll touch whoever I want, motherfucker. Can you hear it? I can't turn it up any louder. One more time.
It happened.
All right. Well, will she be arrested? We'll see. You want to hear one of the biggest lies you've ever heard? Tedros. This guy. Dr. Tedros on the COVID pandemic from the Bill Gates WHO.
WHO did not impose anything on anyone during the COVID-19 pandemic. Not lockdowns, not mask mandates, not vaccine mandates. We don't have the power to do that. We don't want it, and we're not trying to get it.
You lying sack of shit. Yes, you did push that. Yes, you had back channels. Yes, you exerted all of the pressure and the power that you had. I played the clip from Fauci where he was making sure you'll get fired if you don't voluntarily take this thing. Yeah, I know you're a great actress and you're up for this role, but if you don't put this thing that I'm providing inside of you, you can't work here. Fauci was doing that. They don't want this power and control. Oh, they were using all of the power that they had to manipulate people, to force people.
We don't have the power to do that. We don't want it.
You don't want it. Yes, you do.
And we're not trying to get it.
You are trying to get it. Liz Churchill says, put this lying son of a bitch in prison. Hey, let's get a report from the border. How are things? Actually, they're better.
They are gone. Brought you guys a few weeks.
Anthony Aguero live.
Weeks ago out here, showcased all of this, how they were still going against President Trump's orders. This is all gone, guys. This is all gone. All that's left of them here is this. Their little logo, Los Samaritanos.
Los Samaritanos. David, have a great day. Thanks for joining.
This. Their little logo, Los Samaritanos. Told you we were coming for you. So just a few weeks ago, I brought you guys out. He had the NGO, No More Deaths, and Los Samaritanos singing Kumbaya, burning fire with illegal criminal aliens being brought across, incentivized, and having them wait here for Border Patrol while other individuals were trekking and running across the other side. That is now gone, and we told them, Tom Homan's coming for you. You're on notice, Pastor Ray. Tom Homan is coming for you, bro.
Okay, I'll receive him.
Okay. Look at this. They are gone.
Adios, muchachos.
They are gone.
Rob Schneider puts this out and asks the question we are all wondering. Why is talking sexually at work considered sexual harassment? But talking about sexuality to kids in elementary school is considered essential. I mean, when you put it that way, it seems a little weird, doesn't it? Bill Maher talking with, I'm halfway through this one. I got to finish. Tony Hinchcliffe on Bill Maher's program.
Larry David said, I'm a Nazi.
He did?
Well, he said I had dinner with Hitler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and by the way, and I think literally when we say we do it to themselves, how dare anyone call Trump Hitler? That is such an insult to the Jewish people.
That's exactly what I said when I did an interview about it. That it's like, among other things, first of all, as soon as you play the Hitler card, you've kind of lost the argument, unless you're really dealing with Hitler, which, yes, we're not. But agreed, like, it is quite insulting to the ones that Hitler, I mean, Hitler, I keep calling him the goat of evil. He's the goat.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't, don't try to, you know.
Look at the numbers. There are numbers that are 5, 6, 7x the largest numbers that were attributed to Hitler. People in the 25, 30 million range instead of 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or what number is attributed. If he's going based off statistics, he's going to make a basketball reference here. You know, LeBron James is the scoring leader. The point totals are higher. If you're going off certain totals, yeah, then maybe. But he calls him the GOAT. Not in a good way, but
him the goat of evil. He's the goat.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't
Pol Pot.
Don't try to, you know, don't enter that conversation like who was better than Michael Jordan. Okay? It's Hitler.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Hitler's Michael Jordan.
By the way, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. He surpassed Michael Jordan a few years ago. But I digress.
Don't enter that conversation like who was better than Michael Jordan. Okay? It's Hitler.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Hitler's Michael Jordan of evil.
Yeah.
All right? LeBron's great. It's different.
Yeah.
6 rings.
Yeah.
6 million people dead.
Yeah.
And it's just like, stop it.
Yep.
Well, hold on. I mean, I'd never. Let's see what Grok says. If you're going for the greatest of all time in evil, and you're going off sheer numbers, Yahya Khan, Pakistan, 3 million deaths. Ismail Enver Pasha, Ottoman Empire, 1881, 1922, 1 to 2 million. The Armenian Genocide. Pol Pot, Cambodia, 1925 to 1998, estimated 2.5. The Khmer Rouge policies. Khmer Rouge policies. Genocide, forced labor, and purges. Killed a quarter of Cambodia's population. Hideki Tojo, Japan, 1884 to 1948, estimated 5 to 10 million. Japanese World War II actions. Invasions of China and Southeast Asia. That's 5 to 10 million. Leopold II of Belgium, 1835 to 1909, 10 to 15 million. Exploitation of the Congo Free State. Forced labor, starvation, and disease. Tamerlane, Central Asia, 13 to 1400s, 10 to 17 million. Mass slaughter, military campaigns in Asia, Middle East, India. Conquest to restore the Mongol Empire, often targeting civilian populations. Genghis Khan, 20 to 40 million, 1100 to 1200. Mongol invasions, conquests across Asia, Europe, massacres, destruction of cities. Adolf, 1889, 1945. Question mark. I'll put a question mark there because the story is that he got out of there. Went to Argentina, right? 17 to 20 million. Holocaust and World War II civilian deaths. They have a total of 6 million Jews and millions of others. Civilian deaths in occupied territories. Joseph Stalin, above that, 10 to 20 million. 1878, 1953. Food collectivization. Holodomor famine. Great Purge, gulags, and executions. Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao. Didn't I say Chairman Mao at the beginning? Didn't I say? I lost a Tojo, said the farmer. Mao Zedong, 1893, 1976, 40 to 80 million. Policies during the Great Leap Forward, mass famine, off 15 to 45 million. Additional from the Cultural Revolution and political purges, economic and social campaigns aimed to transform China cause catastrophic human losses. So Mao Zedong is the GOAT. Chairman Mao doesn't get the blame for that for some reason. Anyway, when you're ranking evil, they can all go to hell, right? Like, I don't care, but since they were talking about the GOAT, then so be it. Chairman Mao has better stats, if better means bad. Actually, I'm going to type that. Well, at Bill Maher, Chairman Mao has better stats. If by better, we mean worse. MAU. I didn't say MAU. I said MAO. Where is the... Did I still have it? Yes, I did. So what was it? 17 to 20, 40 to 80. 17 to 20, 40 to 80. Also, I'll tag LeBron. The GOAT 1A to... Does Michael Jordan have X? I don't know if he's on X. I didn't see him. One B for several years now. LeBron's individual stats don't lie. The 4 championships are relative in a team sport. Team sports. A couple. How many do I need to get rid of? Okay. I'll do hashtag GOAT. Okay. Now I'll post it. There we go. Legal immigrants talking about deportations. I mean, you would imagine they're against it, right?
About Trump's border policy.
I love
This is The Guardian. I love it.
it. I'm 100%
About Trump's border policy.
I love it. I'm 100% for it. As a Mexican American, I truly believe that we need to take our country back. When I came to this country, I stood in line for hours and days before I could get my green card.
Do you know anybody that crossed the border without applying for green card?
Oh yes, unfortunately I have family members that did. Cousins, nephews, nieces.
Because those people might be deported if Donald Trump wins.
That's okay. That's okay.
You would be okay with your cousins
I would be okay.
being deported?
Yeah, I will be okay. They can be deported, but they can also apply to come back to the United States, but do it the right way.
And the right way is you better get out before you're caught. Go self-deport and get in line. If you're caught, you're not allowed back in the nightclub. But if you all get out and walk in, get your wristband, show your ID, pay your cover charge, a lot of you can come back in.
How long have they been here for?
Years, like 20, some like 30 years.
How do you think they would feel about you saying that?
Oh, they would be very angry. They are angry at me right now. They don't talk to me because I support Trump.
There you go. The fake news talked about air traffic control incessantly. Here's Sean Duffy clarifying what we know.
In the safety mission of the FAA, like air traffic controllers, no one was cut. We actually have staffed up. We've hired more air traffic controllers during this time. There were probationary workers that were let go. Those are employees who were there less than a year, and again, we excluded the safety positions. Most of them have come back. So again, to say the FAA has 46,000 employees. And if you lost 350, is this affecting our safety mission? There's a lot of things the FAA does, but for us, safety is key. So no, we've retained all those safety positions.
You're saying some were fired, some were brought back. People will hear that, think it sounds a little bit chaotic. I guess the bottom line.
You're trying to squeeze in that buzzword of chaotic and chaos. That's so stupid, MSNBC. I know what you're doing. Don't manipulate me.
All those safety positions.
You're saying some were fired, some were brought back. People will hear that, think it sounds a little bit chaotic. I guess the bottom line is, did Elon Musk ask you to cut air traffic controllers directly?
So listen, we are having a conversation about who do we preserve. And again, I wanted in those probationary employees to preserve air traffic controllers. We went back and forth, and Elon agreed, the president agreed. Of course you want to keep air traffic controllers. We're trying to hire more of them. But I think the key is, can your government be more efficient? We've had a massive expansion of government. You can actually be more efficient and still accomplish the mission of safety, which is what I think we can do. And we are doing that.
So there you go. What is this? Martin Diaz came to the U.S. as a toddler.
My husband drug him through the yard and detained him. They did not show proof of warrant. They refused to identify themselves. They did not show any ID. On Wednesday, I heard from my husband.
I mean, there is a problem with just a bunch of people grabbing someone and not showing a warrant and not showing some ID. Like, I don't know what a better way to do this would be. But if you're trying to kidnap somebody, you damn well better like explain who you are, what you're doing there. It could be causing some problems. Martin Diaz came to the U.S. as a toddler, fleeing cartel violence. I mean, his family had proof of the danger and hope for safety here. He married a U.S. citizen, and after years of waiting, their visa case finally moved forward. Days later, ICE showed up at their Spokane home with no warrant, no ID, no regard for the law. His wife wasn't home, but a roommate filmed everything. When he asked for badge numbers, agents said none of your business. Then they assaulted Martin and dragged him away. Now ICE is charging him with assault, but the video tells the truth. This is what ICE does: lie, escalate, and disappear people. Kendall Diaz spoke out at the Spokane Fights Back rally. We echo her call. Deportation is not an option. We demand justice, is what they say. Amuse says closed border. Martin R. Diaz's wife describes her husband as an innocent illegal alien wrongly being deported. She fails to remember he pled guilty to felony assault after being accused of rape in 2008, resulting in his final removal order. He didn't leave. In 2017, he was charged with felony domestic violence. And a year later, his wife tried to help him get a visa. So, you know, when you're getting one side of a sob story, that's interesting, but that doesn't make it accurate. So let's talk about the Qatar situation. Qatar, according to Marina Medvin, they're buying American education from kindergarten to college, buying our politicians through influence of U.S. nonprofits, shower U.S. politicians with lavish gifts, and now they're gifting Trump an Air Force One flying Trojan horse. D.C. mayor didn't disclose Qatar funding of a 23 trip. Trump administration poised to accept a palace in the sky as a gift for Trump from Qatar. Hamas patron Qatar spent $6 billion lobbying U.S. government. Spitfire here says Boeing failed miserably in building a new Air Force One, so Qatar stepped up. It's not a gift. It's liberal lies and propaganda failing. Around the November elections, Boeing representatives signaled to federal officials that the plane maker wouldn't be able to deliver new planes for about another decade. Can you believe this? Boeing can't deliver planes for a decade. Air Force One, that should be your number one priority. That is astonishing, Boeing. During the Biden administration, Frank Kendall, the U.S. Air Force Secretary at the time, considered canceling Boeing's contract for the project. Well, 10 years for a plane? Here it is. Here's the new airport, the Air Force One, palace in the sky. I don't know that I trust it. You want to take out President Trump? This could be a perfect way. Yep, Boeing failed to deliver new Air Force One on time. Qatar is providing a free replacement. Aircraft will be available for use by President Trump as Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, after which ownership will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. A super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet. This could be the most valuable gift ever offered to the United States by a foreign government. Amuse says Boeing can't seem to finish anything these days, including the new Air Force One that was scheduled to be finished last year, but won't be done until Trump is out of office. Qatar to the rescue, gifting the president a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet. On Monday, Democrats and their willing accomplices in the drive-by media will cry foul, citing the emoluments clause. Trump managed to get a free plane worth around $1 billion, yet Democrats are going to lose their minds. You can check out this Vigilant Fox thread about Howard Lutnick. Dana Bash tried to play economist and corner him with the usual tariffs hurt American script, but he pushes back, and here's the thread. Go check that out. President Trump, drug prices to be cut by 59%. Carolyn Levitt says it cannot be overstated how big a deal this executive order will be for American families and especially our seniors. Healthcare costs were the number one driver of Biden inflation. President Trump is tackling them head on. HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy Jr. praises President Trump's executive order, slashing prescription drug prices and standing up for the American people. Bobby Kennedy says, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democrat leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for the presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. As it turns out, none of them were doing it, Kennedy said. And here's the explanation. Is this price controls like Chairman Mao, or what is happening here? Is this good or bad, the price of drugs?
It cannot be overstated how big of a deal this executive order that President Trump will be signing in a couple of hours is for American families, and especially our seniors who have been ripped off by very large and rich pharmaceutical companies. The United States of America is less than 5% of the world's population, yet we purchase 75% of big pharma's profits. We pay an astronomical amount in comparison to other countries around the world. So the president is signing an executive order today that is going to implement most favored nations drug pricing, and is going to reduce the cost of drugs in this country by more than half at least. America is going to pay a better rate and a fairer rate to the rest of the world. It cannot.
Yeah, favored, what was that phrase? Favored nations pricing? Like, essentially, it's that we have to get the lowest price. Nobody can have a lower price. Kiowi Gal saying, I'm wondering how the Democrats and lying legacy media will spin Trump's executive order on lowering drug prices. Let me think. Stephen Miller discussing courts going against both Congress and the judicial branch as they lawlessly intervene against President Trump's executive order to stop non-citizens from voting. They're imposing their own Marxist agendas on the entire country, he says. Unapologetically American says Trump's executive order was a market correction tool, not socialist-style price setting. It tried to use global market prices as leverage to get fairer deals for U.S. taxpayers. We're done being suckers. We'll pay what they pay, or we won't buy. Governor Dill says Trump's executive order will have nothing to do with price controls for pharmaceuticals. Price controls are bad. His executive order will target the rules, not the laws, governing how drug companies mark up their products for U.S. consumers to make up for their foreign price subsidies. Americans have been paying a higher price so that other countries can have cheaper prices. That's bullshit. No, not having it. Thank you, President Trump. People like Obama think of themselves as world citizens, and they will sell you out. And by the way, they'll take 10% for the big guy. They'll make sure that their pockets are lined. Don't trust me. They're not doing this stuff for free. Anyway, here's Laura Loomer. White House, Trump after 100 days with John Bolton. Whatever. John Bolton is a dork. They said he's a dork. They said, sir, that John Bolton, he's got quite the mustache. I think he's hiding something on that upper lip. Trump in 27 says the nation of Qatar has been a funder of terrorism at a very high level, according to open source intel. And yes, I do find it strange that he's now accepting a $400 million plane from the Qatari terror funders. There's no free lunch. Charles Barkley saying what I said earlier. If the Cavs can win the next game, Game 6 in Indiana, they'll be feeling the heat. The Pacers will. And they aren't going to go back and get Game 7 in Cleveland. So if the Cavs can just get one, they got a shot in this. Pinot Americano. And I've been here, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. They have an Air Force One plane. Marine One helicopter, presidential limo, and an M1 Abrams tank, and an F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter jet, and an F-14 fighter jet. Look at these. I've been here. Let me full screen this. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Qatarzan. The plane. Get the plane. Here, let me full screen it. Look at this glory. Yeah, it's a neat facility up in where is it? Calabasas? Reagan Library is in, I don't think it's Calabasas. Reagan, hang on, let me see if I can think of it. I'm going to type it. Where is REAGANLIBRARY? I'm thinking Calabasas, but it's not. Doggone it, Simi Valley. I knew that. North of Los Angeles, but yeah, I've walked on this Air Force One. And I got the jelly beans out. It's a small plane. It's not large. I mean, yes, it's large if you're standing next to it, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's a little surprising that, I wonder if having a larger Air Force One, or if you have a larger Air Force One, does it become a bigger target? And is that a bad thing then? Because you got to protect your president, of course. Yep, there's Marine One. Yeah, I worked an event with the Seabees and Nancy Reagan. And that's a F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter jet. That's pretty cool, isn't it? An Abrams tank. It's a cool facility. Go up there in Simi Valley, California. So yeah, I mean, that's what presidential libraries get, stuff like that. Amuse is reporting that Grok is falsely claiming Trump will benefit privately from Qatar's gift of a 747. The fact is, the DoD is accepting the plane, and it will be given to his presidential library as an exhibit, which will be owned by NARA. There's no violation of the emoluments clause, and Congress had previously agreed that the Secretary of Defense can accept gifts on behalf of the Air Force. The 747 will never personally benefit Trump or his family. Do better, Grok. Yeah, Grok's been a little off lately. Look at this view. Look at how awesome this is. These panoramic walls of light and a great view. Cavalryman 40 says, just to make this clear, Trump is not getting a free jet. The U.S. Air Force is. It is going to be modified and overhauled by L3 Harris to Air Force One configuration. Okay, so it will be modified and overhauled by L3 Harris. I don't know L3 Harris. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to take everything out and put your own systems in. You can't. How do you trust I don't know. After Trump leaves office, the jet might be put on display at the Trump Presidential Library. All presidential libraries are run by the National Archives, and all artifacts belong to the American people. Trump is not getting a free airplane, and it will not be for his private use. Once he leaves office, he will be back to flying on his own 757. That is the way it works, no matter what certain people on X and the media tell you. They're not being honest. By the way, Ronald Reagan's Air Force One is on display at the Reagan Library. It's a sight to see. It still belongs to the American people and is managed by the National Archives, just like this will be. But the Democrats need a daily outrage. This is today's. Don't fall for it. President Trump reiterates support for accepting a massive Boeing jet to use as Air Force One from Qatar temporarily, then decommission it to his presidential library. You can watch that 3-minute clip if you want. JS says the plane is being gifted to the U.S. Air Force, which is legal. Then the plane is retired to sit in the Presidential Library Museum, just as Reagan has Air Force One in his presidential library as other presidents. Why omit the fact that the plane is being gifted to the U.S. Air Force? Oh, it doesn't fit the false narrative. So there you go. Have a look at the vitriol Afrikaners had to deal with for 30 years. The side who wants repentance offered retribution instead of redemption. Jeez. The side who wants repentance offered retribution instead of redemption. One side agreed to reconciliation, whilst the other side wants revenge. No more Afrikaners. Are they going to blame Indians next? This is from Dag Brecker. there are going to be refugees from South Africa coming to the United States. The Trump administration is planning to soon receive the first group of white South African refugees it says deserve a safe haven in the U.S. Steve Cortez says CBS News loves immigrants, but not white ones. Millions of economic migrants, they count as refugees. But Afrikaners fleeing for their lives simply because of their race, they get the "it says" qualifier here in the CBS Post. Dark migrants good, honkies not so much. It's just so interesting how similar stories are reported completely differently, and it's telling. Mario Naufel says Trump's refugee plan. First white South Africans fly to Texas. For the first time ever, 49 white South Africans have boarded a flight to the U.S. as refugees, thanks to a program launched by Trump to protect Afrikaners from racial discrimination. They, as all Americans were under the Biden-Obama doctrine. Agree or disagree with that? They were these people were fully vetted and packed up and headed for Texas via D.C., but no media is allowed on board. South African officials aren't thrilled, calling it political meddling. Shocker. Critics say white South Africans are still wealthy and own most of the land. Trump says they're targets, not tyrants, and wants America to step in. Source is Reuters. The first 54 white Afrikaner refugees fleeing South Africa as asylum seekers next week. More than 67,000 white Afrikaners expressed interest in seeking asylum so far. We shall see. That means, Reeb Van Genbeek says, some Afrikaners will be enjoying their first white boy summer in the United States soon. I want a barbecue. I've got a barbecue. We clarified this on the show. WEF Ties, not a board member. Can we make Lou Prevost the Pope next? We identified Chairman Mao as way better stats. If by better, we mean worse. And then here's our show today. And that's what I had prepared for you. Kablamo. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you. Did I go see the relics while tanked? No. I was working. It was a nice place to work, by the way. I did enjoy it. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Follow the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube at the New American Media. Subscribe. New American Media is on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. And get our page, what is it? Our podcast on Spotify. Goodbye, Kenneth. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching out there. Our podcast, two of them, the Agree to Disagree Show and the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Please subscribe. Appreciate that. And if anyone wants to throw something in our tip jar today, we're on Patreon at the New American Media, coming up on another month in just 18 or so days. So we're going to post original content up there. And every time we do, the monthly contributions kick in. Thank you to everybody over there. Thank you to everyone who has dropped tips on Venmo. Kenneth, I see you and appreciate you as always, brother. And Cash App and Venmo at Brian Engelman. And on PayPal, we're at Fuzz Installments. Thank you so much. All right, we'll be back again tomorrow. Tons of stuff to talk about today. Some days I wonder how I'm going to even give you enough content to deliver a show, and some days I got a lot to say. But I will say, I guess I did cover a lot of things on Sunday because there was no Sunday show. So maybe today was sort of a double show for that reason, but I digress. A lot of day left to get to, so let's get on with it. I'm going to sign out for now. Till next time, everyone. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everyone. Deuces.
American media.